The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing games are missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT. I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Oh my God, it's been a while. It's been a while since I said that. It's been a while since I've been live. I ain't put out like no full length video in what we're talking about 12 days now, which by True School standards is an eternity. It's been a very weird month. Can't remember the last time I went this long without putting out content, but it's good to be here. It's good to be live again. It's good to be seen. I'm doing the just to get off this like rut that I've been in, because I get in these ruts, especially in the middle of the year. Every year, I would say every year on YouTube, because I've been through enough years covering boxing here on YouTube. Every year, I would say normally 2 to 3 times a year, I go into like a downward spiral. You could even call it depression if you want, whatever you want to call it. It happens normally about 2 or 3 times a year. Normally happens during the holidays, the middle of the year, and then sometime randomly. So it's just one of them times. That's why I always try to stay consistent. But it's my first time going live since I hit 91,000 subscribers. So shout out to everybody who helped me get to 91,000 subscribers. I am going to get back into a rhythm. Just before I even get into boxing talk, and y'all can go ahead and y'all can ask your boxing questions, and I'm gonna get to them because I'm not really sure how long this live is gonna be. I'm gonna shoot for 2 hours, but if it really picks up and if it really gets lit, maybe I'll stay for 3. But I'm gonna tell y'all what's led to this like layoff, if you will, right? Because what is it? It's June 13th now. So towards the latter stages of May, I was down there in South Florida. I was down there in Miami with my boy Angelo Leo, and we were doing some press work. I was taking him around. We were shaking hands. We was kissing babies. We were getting some promotional things in order. Just trying to network and do things like that. And then all that ended, and then I came back home, and then I just said I just took a break from YouTube. I don't know. I just took a break from YouTube. So I guess I needed it because it's been a very hectic year. But yeah, anyway, we're back, and the drive to 100,000 subscribers continues. And a lot of y'all are asking me like, is there gonna be a Bam Rodriguez versus Antonio Vargas live? And I'll be honest with you, probably not. Probably not. I might not even watch the fight. I'm gonna watch the World Cup, to be honest with you. But I had to come here and be responsible and just get off this schneid and talk to you guys, because it's like I hold myself to exceptionally high standards, and I just been on some bullshit recently. So good to be here. Shout out to Hand History Vault in the chat. Jesus M in the chat. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Greetings. What's good? What's good? And you know what it is too? Every time these last couple of days where I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna make some videos, I'm gonna make a bunch of videos, I'm gonna go live, I'm gonna do this, that, and the third. I go and I look at the boxing world and what's going on in boxing, and there ain't really shit going on in boxing. Like let's be real. Like we got Shakur and Devin arguing about weight and things like that. Shakur Stevenson's being a straight diva, and he don't really want to fight Devin Haney, which is crazy because I like Shakur Stevenson more than I like Devin. Devin even conceded to Shakur's little demands, and he still don't want to fight. Shakur still don't want to fight. So that hasn't really been anything I've been eager to talk about. There's not a whole lot going on, but maybe I'm tripping. Maybe y'all can tell me some things and ask me some questions, and I'll give you my best opinions. I'll give you my take on it, and we'll see where it goes. Shout out to TSM Hardy. He says Jin Sasaki is training in America for a month. Yeah, I know. I heard. I'm not currently in Vegas, but I heard through the grapevine he is coming back to America. God willing, he is going to be back in God willing, he's going to be back in Vegas, and he can get some training in with Team Leo, because it really helped him out for his last fight. I don't think I'll be there because I don't think I'll be in Vegas anytime soon until probably a couple months from now. But we'll see. My life changes very quickly in this boxing game. Where have you been at, Penny? I just been chilling. I just been to myself. I was down in South Florida with the champ Angelo Leo for like a week, and we were getting some promotional stuff done and things like that. And then that kind of ended, and then I got home, and I just took a break. I just needed a break from all this. I need not even just this, just boxing in general. I took a bit of a break, you know, from my own mental health. But then it's crazy because you take these breaks, which I don't like taking breaks, but you take these breaks and then I actually go crazier. I actually wind up finding I wind up actually falling into depression if I'm not around boxing long enough. Like you know, Canelo Alvarez says, no boxing, no life. It's true. That shit is true. If I'm not around boxing, if I'm not doing this for even like 2 or 3 days, I will lose my mind. So I got to the point where I just lost my mind and I said, you know what? I'm just gonna turn the camera on. I'm gonna hit play and I'm just gonna go live. And wherever it goes, wherever it goes. And I told myself, I said, you know what, BT, you gotta get off your bullshit. The rest of this year, I gotta operate in the spirit of 2016 BT, which is 10 years ago. I was a different person, but I was dialed in. Like I missed that guy. BT, would you rather Haney fight Catterall or Devin versus Keyshawn? The WBO is forcing the Keyshawn fight. Personally, I would like the Devin Haney versus Keyshawn fight. I feel like I feel like Rolly should be fighting Jack Catterall. But funny enough, when I was down there in Miami with Angelo, I did come across Rolly. I actually spent about roughly an hour and a half or 2 hours of my day with Rolly and Angelo, and I talked to Rolly. I asked him. I said, Rolly, when you gonna fight Jack Catterall, man? You over here complaining to the whole world about Ryan Garcia not wanting to fight you, Devin not wanting to fight you. All these guys is ducking you. So since all these guys is ducking you, why don't you fight your mandatory in the meantime? And you know what Rolly told me? Rolly said, do you really think me, Rolly Romero, cares about mandatories? And he said, I do what I want. Learn from me. I won't be here forever. That's literally what he told me. So take that however you want to take it, and you can choose to believe me or not believe me. But I really be in these boxing streets. I'm telling y'all the God's honest truth. So I don't think the WBA is gonna make Rolly fight Jack Catterall. I don't. I think Jack Catterall is gonna be frozen out by the WBA, and they're gonna give Rolly Romero special treatment because they like him. But it is what it is. As far as Devin versus Keyshawn, I mean, I like that fight a lot. I want to see Keyshawn Davis in the big fight. I'm a big Keyshawn Davis fan. Um, and I want Shakur Stevenson to stop tucking his tail and go fight O'Shaquie Foster. He put his brother, one of his tribe of boxing brothers, in front of O'Shaquie Foster, and he said, "If you give my brother an opportunity and beat him, then I will fight you." And what did O'Shaquie do? He put belt to ass on Lil Ray Ray, right? Beat Ray Ray, and then and now Shakur, he's doing what I thought he was gonna do. He's gonna try to go to Zuffa Boxing and go fight Devin Haney. So that's why boxing is the eighth most popular sport, because at a time where we got the damn World Cup going on, we got the NBA Finals going on with the Knicks in the finals, which makes it an even bigger deal. Got the NBA Finals going on, Stanley Cup Finals going on, at a time where all this shit is going on in the world. I come to boxing and I look at boxing and we got Devin and Shakur arguing about weight and doing and that's why boxing is where it's at in America. So, it is what it is. We do got a good fight coming up with Bam versus Antonio Vargas tonight. I think it will be a good fight. I think Vargas is I think his amateur pedigree, his size, his youth, it'll make it a good fight, but I just think Bam is better. So I think Bam probably beats Vargas. I'll say he beats him on points with a knockdown. I think he beats him on points with a knockdown. But I would like to see Vargas do his thing. I'll tell you guys this. A lot of y'all are asking me, is there going to be a live for Bam versus Vargas tonight? If y'all want to see me come live tonight, y'all better just root for Vargas to win. If Vargas wins, I'll come live. I have a lot to say about Bam, because y'all been talking crazy to me about Bam. He's a fantastic fighter, but this Bam Inoue shit has really just like pissed me off. So if Vargas wins tonight and he ruins Bam versus Inoue, I would be elated. I'd be over the moon. What did I think about CBS versus Riziki? Oh my god. I did get a chance to watch it. Great fight. It was actually damn near. It was actually what I thought it was gonna be. I had pretty high expectations for the fight because I knew stylistically, CBS and Riziki was a fun fight. Their styles are gonna mesh. Chris Smith comes forward. Riziki comes forward. And Riziki can take it. He can take a beating. He's got a lot of durability. So it actually lived up to everything I thought it would be. For a lot of people who, in boxing who haven't seen Riziki fight or haven't really paid attention to Chris Smith and weren't familiar with those guys, they were surprised by it. But if you've watched CBS fight and you've watched Riziki fight, it really shouldn't have came at any surprise to you that it was such an exciting fight. It was the best fight in Zuffa boxing history. It was the God Award of Zuffa boxing. And I don't know how much longer Riziki got left in the sport because he's been in some real wars in his career. But I hope he can continue to fight and get some great paydays because he's really pound for pound in terms of action fighters. If you made a pound for pound list for like the best action fighters in boxing, he'd be on that pound for pound list for in terms of pure action and excitement. He's up there. Chris Smith gets another great one on his resume. He is one of the better cruiserweights out there. I think him versus Jao Pataya is a fight that's going to be made eventually with Zuffa Boxing. That was a fight that could have been made last year on a Turkey card, but Turkey Al Sheikh didn't have a big of enough budget for them guys. So that's why it didn't happen. He was only putting up $1 million combined for both of them to fight, so it never happened. But ultimately, now with Zuffa Boxing, Dana White, them guys, along with Turkey investment, I think there's going to be enough money in the pot now for that fight to make sense for both fighters. So yeah, for sure. But listen, guys, we got 26 people here. I only got 4 likes. How y'all gonna do the kid BT like that? How you guys gonna just front on True School like that? I'm coming to you guys live and direct in the afternoon. I'm breaking the schneid. I'm getting back to I'm getting back dialed into boxing after 12 days without a full length video. God knows, I think the last time I was live was when Pops was live, so I haven't been live for over 2 weeks. So how y'all gonna do this to me? How y'all gonna do this to BT and play your boy BT like that? Hit the like button, man, so this video gets pushed out to many more people. And get your questions in. Smash the like button. Subscribe for new. He says that's crazy. You're only gonna get on live if you lose. I'm being honest. You guys asked for honesty. I really don't plan on being live for the Bam Vargas fight. I don't really care about the fight because they're trying to push it as this WBA title fight. It's not a real WBA title fight because the real WBA champion is Seiya Tsutsumi, who beat Takuma Inoue, and Bam ain't fighting him. So it's a good fight, but I hate how they're marketing the fight. And to be honest with you, yeah, if Vargas does win, I'm probably gonna go live right after the damn fight because Bam, y'all been talking, y'all. I'm just tired of this Bam Inoue shit. Like they manufactured Bam Inoue out of nowhere. It's like y'all will give Inoue a pass for doing anything but go to featherweight. So that's where I'm at. Do I think Navarrete versus Foster will happen? I think it should happen. I mean, we know Shakur is not going to fight Foster because Shakur is out here. He got his Usain Bolt track shoes on. He got his Marion Jones track shoes on. He's over there sprinting away and ducking O'Shaquie Foster. He want to do everything but fight O'Shaquie Foster. I would like that fight. I think it's a good fight. I think O'Shaquie Foster versus Navarrete is a legacy fight. For both guys. Navarrete has never fought. To use a talking point that a lot of people like to use on YouTube, he ain't never fought a slick Black American fighter like an O'Shaquie Foster. And O'Shaquie Foster fighting Vaquero would be him fighting one of boxing's premier volume punchers. And it's the 2 best fighters at 130. So I would love that fight. It's top rank versus top rank. There's really no reason it shouldn't happen, but it is what it is. I'll tell you guys this: if that fight gets happened, that's a fight that I'll cover. I'll go to that fight. So hopefully it can happen. There really is no reason it shouldn't happen. If it doesn't happen, I think it would be more on Vaquero than Shock Foster because Shock Foster will fight anybody. Bam versus Angelo Leo. Bam don't want that smoke. Bam will go to the ICU if he fights Angelo. BT, that's my pal. What's up, Lance? Good to see you, champ. Looks like Bam won't even fight Seiya after all. Robert wants. You guys think I'm talking trash. I be telling y'all what's really going on with these weight classes, and y'all don't believe me. But I won't get mad at Bam if he fights Christian Medina. Christian Medina is a good fight. He's a young fighter. He's strong. He's a strong young Mexican volume puncher. He is. It pains me to say that, Bernard. Shakur Stevenson don't want to fight Devin Haney. He don't want to fight Shock Foster. He don't want to fight Devin Haney. He don't want to fight his tag team champion brother, Keyshawn Davis. So who does he want to fight? Who does Shakur want to fight? It's ridiculous. And I don't even like Devin Haney. Like Devin Haney was just on Twitter what was it, 3 weeks ago, talking about some. He quote tweeted me when I was live, just like this, and he said, "I don't know shit about boxing." So I got every reason in the world to hate on Devin Haney, but I call a spade a spade. You don't want to fight Devin Haney. You said 144. I don't gotta go to 147 because I'm one of the best fighters in the world. So why I gotta do what he wants me to do? So then Devin said, "Okay, I'll do what you want me to do. I'll come to 44," and it's still not good enough for Shakur Stevenson. So he called his bluff. He don't want that smoke. Sutsumi is the champion reasons. I think he should be mandated after this fight gets a resolution. I agree with that, and I think Bam should beat Seiya Sutsumi. Seiya Sutsumi's been in a lot of wars. I think he's shop worn. Donaire almost knocked him out of there. But it'd be a cool fight. Sutsumi's a good action fighter. I would like to see if Bam really wants to fight anyway. I would like to see him fight Sebastian Hernandez Reyes or Ramon Cardenas. That's a fight. See, if y'all want to get me excited about Bam, I mean the Vargas fight's a cool fight. It might prove to be a better fight than people think because of Vargas' pedigree and his boxing skills and things like that. But you give me Sebastian Hernandez Reyes, you give me Ramon Cardenas, then we can talk. Then now we're really talking about something worth getting excited about. Shakur wants Ram to retire. God bless him. Shakur. Well, look, I know you're saying. I know a lot of you guys saying he's following the Terrence Crawford blueprint. No, it's not like that. You can't compare Shakur Stevenson to Terrence Crawford. I know that like Terrence Crawford's his mentor, but you can't compare them. And the reason you can't compare them is because Shakur Stevenson was a U.S. Olympian silver medalist. He got signed with Top Rank straight out the damn amateurs, and he's had the red carpet rolled out from day one. The right fights at the right time, the perfect prospect development, things like that. When Terrence Crawford, when he turned pro, nobody wanted to sign him. Golden Boy did not want to sign him. Top Rank did not want to sign him because a lot of the promotional companies, they didn't think a fighter from Nebraska had any marketability, could sell, could be anything in the sport of boxing. These are true facts. If you talk to the real movers and shakers in boxing, like I have, and I'll name one of them for you. Like if you talk to a guy named Mike Altamara, Mike Altamara is one of the best managers in the world. He's literally served as Top Rank's talent scout for the last almost 20 years. He scouted a lot of the U.S. Olympians in the 2000, a lot of the Olympians in the 2008 Beijing Olympics. And so he was talking to a lot of the movers and shakers on Top Rank at that time. And I've watched interviews and I've spoken to him about this. They didn't want to sign Top Rank, and Golden Boy did not want to sign Terrence Crawford out the amateurs in 2008. They wanted to sign Brandon Rios. They wanted to sign Mikey Garcia. They wanted to sign Saddam Ali. These are the fighters in that Olympic class from the U.S. that the promoters had a higher interest in because at that time they looked at those guys as fighters who had higher commercial value. So you can't put them in the same sentence. Terrence Crawford was fighting first, 10, 15 fights of his career. He was literally fighting on Brandon Rios' prelim undercards, not even the damn TD portion. I'm talking about prelims. I'm talking about 15 people in the stands. I'm talking about nobody there. So you can't compare them. Okay, now of course Terrence Crawford, he fights Prescott. He goes to Scotland. He beats Ricky Burns. He becomes champion, and he becomes who he ultimately became in the sport as a future Hall of Famer, 3-time undisputed. All that blase. But leading up to that, he did not have the same treatment as Shakur Stevenson. So I don't think it's fair to say that Shakur Stevenson is following the same blueprint when they didn't start out the same. Terrence Crawford didn't have the red carpet rolled out early in his career, but that's just my perspective. You could have yours. I have mine. I'll leave it at that. Did you tell Rolly Jen is going to beat his ass? I didn't. To be honest, I'll just be honest with you. So when I was around Rolly for that hour or two in Miami, I didn't really want to. He's a cool guy. I like Rolly, but I had somewhere I had to be. Me and Angelo had somewhere we had to be, and that was very important at that time. So I checked out. I wasn't even there. I was thinking about where we had to be, and I was a bit frustrated to even be there because I didn't want to be there. But that's neither here nor there. I won't get too deep into it, but I didn't want to be there. How do you see Bam doing versus Takuma Inoue, given that he looks good tonight at 118? I know Bam has talked about that fight. I like that fight. I think good fight. I think that's a natural progression. You want to fight Inoue? What better way to fight him than fight his brother? Now, in my humble opinion, like Takuma Inoue has shown himself to be getting better at this stage of his career. But I also think, he's been getting the right styles put in front of him because with Takuma, he's always lost. He's only ever lost to a certain style. If you look at his two losses were to Nordine Ubali and Seiya Tsutsumi. And the thing that Nordine Ubali and Seiya Tsutsumi have in common is that they both are like downhill, physically strong, volume punching fighters, right? And that's what gave Takuma Inoue problems. Now, I wouldn't say Bam is exactly like those guys, but he can fight that style, and he can fight it in a way where he can switch it up on your ass. He could fight. He could be the downhill and volume punch for a little bit. Then he could be the boxer. Then he could be the counter puncher. He's got more tools in the toolbox than those guys. So I think it'd be a good fight, but I do think Bam is gonna give Takuma Inoue more chances to box at range and the mid range, which actually makes it a more competitive fight than people think. I think Bam wins that fight on points. BT, can you see Yabuki moving up to fight Maloney next? Yes, I can. Yabuki, and by the way, I gotta do a video soon about Masamichi Yabuki. I know he just defended the belt again. And I'm gonna tell y'all like this, because you guys see the Japanese flag, and by the way, just for the record, I don't know how many of you guys are watching the World Cup, but let it be known, I got two teams in the World Cup. My main team is the United States of America, right? And you see what the fuck USA did to Paraguay last night. They put that belt to ass on Paraguay, right? Shout out to the USA. And if you're from America and you're not cheering for Team USA, don't start cheering now. Stay on that side. Go root for Mexico or Brazil or Argentina or England or whoever you was rooting for. But outside of the USA, my second favorite team is playing tomorrow, Japan. So shout out to Japan. But let it be known, at this moment in time, I'm not talking about overall career. I'm not talking about overall accomplishments. I'm talking about right now, current form. I think outside of Naoya Inoue, the second best fighter in Japanese boxing is Masamichi Ibuki. Not Junto, not Kenshiro, not Ioka, not none of them guys. The best fighter from Japan in boxing right now, not named Inoue, is Masamichi Ibuki. I mean, he's been knocking guys out. He's been power boxing guys out the ring. His boxing skills have matured at a later stage. It's his moment right now. I really do think it's his moment right now in the sport. And he needs more credit. I feel like Yabuki doesn't get the credit he deserves because he's not under the Ohashi Mr. Honda umbrella, But he deserves his credit. He's the only guy to knock out Kenshiro Taraji, which is just as good of a win as you can get in Japanese boxing. And he's the truth. That's actually, quiet as kept, that's actually one of the guys Bam Rodriguez should have been talked about fighting. But we know why they won't do that. We already know why they won't do that, because Yabuki really is hitting like that, and he can fight, and he's a really dangerous case for any and everybody out there. And he's not with Mr. Honda. We know Mr. Honda don't play nice with others when it comes to, Japanese boxing and things like that. But Masamichi Ibuki is the truth. And to anybody who says like, oh, well, Junto beat Yabuki. That is true. Junto Nakatani beat Yabuki back in early when he was a prospect, and they fought like in a 4 to 6 rounder. So I wouldn't put too much stock into that. Anybody can get the better of anybody in a 4-round fight or a 6-round fight. Junto Nakatani, honestly, I'm a Junto Nakatani fan. And I've been a Junto Nakatani fan for years. But I got to be honest with you guys. There is not a fighter in the entire sport of boxing in the last, 6 to 8 months that I've lost more respect for than Junto Nakatani because of his last 2 fights. Because when he fought Sebastian Hernandez-Reyes took that belt out, beat the dog shit out of him, and they had to rob Sebastian Hernandez-Reyes to save the Inoue Nakatani fight. Let's call a spade a spade. They robbed Sebastian Hernandez-Reyes in that fight. Then he went and he fought Naoya Inoue, and he showed him all this respect, and you guys know what he did? He did this. For 8 rounds, he did this. He put his hands in his pocket. He didn't even try to win the fight until like the 8th or 9th round. Now, I don't got a problem with a fighter losing a fight. All right, I don't got a problem with a fighter losing a fight. We could all fall short. It's not about losing. It's about how you come back for the losses, and it's about how hard you fight on the night. But what I can't respect is when you get into a big fight, the biggest fight in the history of your country against one of the best fighters, if not the best fighter in the world, and you don't even try to win. You don't put that extra effort to win. And a lot of people say, well, BT, if Junto Nakatani, if he would have tried to beat in a way, he would have got knocked out. Well, you know what I say to that? That's the risk you take. No risk, no reward. No guts, no glory. So what that tells me is that Junto Nakatani was more content to go the distance and say, hey, I had a couple good moments against Inoue. I went the distance, and that's good enough for him. And listen, I'm gonna tell y'all this right now, because a lot of you guys like to ask me and say, well, BT, if that was Angel, like you guys like to do these what if scenarios, like if this fighter missed weight, if this happened in the ring, would you give the same criticism to Angelo Leo, your buddy? Yes, I would, and it'll be worse because I know him in real life. Angelo Leo fought like that against Inoue and put his hands in his pocket, I would be giving it to him terribly in terms of criticism, because how do you do all these great things in the sport and you don't even try to win? You just put your hands in your pocket. So, yeah, Junto Nakatani is not better than Masamichi Ibuki, because Masamichi Ibuki, he actually goes out there and he gets into the big fights and he tries to actually win, right? That's why he knocked out Kenshiro Taraji. Junto doesn't have that dog in him. Not really up for the rough stuff. Too accustomed. That's what I'm saying. Like Junto Nakatani is what is he, like a 3-division champion? But like, look at the guys he beat: Angelo Costa and Nishida. He's bigger than these guys. But when he met guys that could match him and get physical with him and punch him dead in his shit the same way he does to them, he couldn't match that. He couldn't do it with Inoue. Inoue is not even as big as him, but Inoue is just, he's Inoue. He's top tier, upper echelon. And then Sebastian Hernandez-Reyes. He had no answer for either one of those guys. So I'm not saying it's a death sentence. I still like Junto. I still think he's a good fighter. I think he can come back better. You can learn from these kind of things. But as of right now, don't talk to me about no Junto Nakatani being on a better than Masamichi Ibuki. I don't even care if he beat him, because you look at Masamichi Ibuki and look at the run he's been on. Ever since Ibuki got knocked out in the rematch against Kenshiro Taraji 4 years ago, look what he's done. He's knocked out Simsiri. Simsiri's went on to become, a world champion at 105 pounds. Probably one of the most underrated fighters in boxing right now. Knocked him out. That one is aged gracefully. Sivanathan Ochinga, very highly regarded guy in the light flyweight division. Beat the dog shit out of him, right? Power boxed him out the ring. Angel Ayala, undefeated, tough, strong Mexican. Knocked his ass. Beat him out the building. Felix Alvarado, former world champion, never been knocked out before. Power boxed him out the ring. First guy to ever stop him, and then he defends the belt against a respectable fighter in Rene Calixto, right? Former world title challenger, things like that. So to me, let it not even be a discussion. The second best fighter from Japan right now, and somebody had asked me, it was my main man, Haka Trank 04. He says, BT, is it crazy to say Ibuki is over Oscar Collazo pound for pound? No, it's not. He has a way better resume than Oscar Collazo, and in my opinion, he's shown more skills than Oscar Collazo against better competition. Oscar Collazo, I like him. I've advocated for him to get more attention in boxing, and I'm glad people are paying attention to Oscar Collazo. But Oscar Collazo, he hasn't really fought anybody. Like, who has Oscar Collazo fought that's even in the same caliber of a Kenshiro Taraji? He hasn't, right? But he's just one of those guys. He's aligned with Ring Magazine. He's got Golden Boy Promotions behind him. He's got Miguel Cotto behind him. So he's getting that push in the media, in the boxing community. And Ibuki doesn't have that. Ibuki's with Kameda Promotions, who are like the outcasts of Japan, and he doesn't have that push. But the real boxing fans that know and that pay attention, they know that Ibuki, not only is he one of the best little men in boxing, but pound for pound, I'm talking any weight class, from 105 to heavyweight, that is one of the hardest hitters in boxing. And his boxing skills as he's gotten older are catching up to the punching power, which makes him even more dangerous. You understand? Coyaso is not top 10 power pound. I don't get how the ring. He's just, like I say, there's certain fighters that they have the powers that be on their side, and there's other fighters that got to do twice as more to get the attention of the public out there and the respect of the public out there. And Yabuki's one of those guys. Angel Leo's one of those guys. Better BF for a time was one of those guys. There's a lot of guys like that in boxing. I would go as far as say Ibuki is the most underrated fighter. It's true. I agree with that. I would say he's easily top 3 most underrated by far, easily. I disagree with you in history. I feel like Ibuki he's evolved his style because he's getting up there in age. When you get up there in age in anything in life, you can't do things. When you're 33, you're not going to operate the same way you were when you were 23. 10 years does a lot to a person. 10 years of experience, 10 years of wear and tear, and it's no different with him. I think Ibuki is like I said, his boxing skills are catching up to the power. Why don't you name Takuma even once for the candidate for the second position? Because I think Takuma, in a way, although I will say he's had 2 very strong wins against Tenshin and whoever I can't remember who he fought last, but he's had 2 very strong wins back to back. I don't view him on that tier. I don't view Takuma on the tier of a Kenshiro Taraji. I feel like Takuma, you could say maybe he's top 5 in Japan, maybe. But nah, he's not on Yabuki level, Kenshiro, them guys. At best, the best I could do you for Takuma is 4 or 5. That's the best I can do you. But guys, shout out to everybody in here, all 36 you guys. Make sure you guys smash that like button. It's your boy BT, the untouchable True School Sports Empire. I'm giving you guys the very rare afternoon live. I'm not really a afternoon kind of guy. As many of you guys know that have watched me over the years, you guys know I'm more of a nighttime guy. But I have to get out this little rut that I'm in, and I had to just come on here and just press record and just start talking boxing because it's been a very, very weird month for me. Very weird month. But great things are happening. I do believe, and I've been believing since before the year started, that it was always going to be the second half of the year that was going to be the best. Probably the best time of my life. So, and I'm sticking to that. Do you think Foster should be in the top 10 pound for pound? I love Oshaki Foster. I think Oshaki Foster is an awesome fighter. He is becoming one of my favorite fighters in boxing. But no, I don't think Oshaki Foster is a top 10 pound for pound as of yet. I think he needs to be at Vaquero Navarrete or go up to 135 and become champion for that to be a real conversation. I look at, him on that, top 15, top 20 tier. I feel like he's on that tier with, Yabuki and Colosso and Angelo Leo and those guys that have done good things in the sport, but they still need that one win to push them over. Raymond Ford's a good win, but listen, guys, and I give Raymond Ford his respect, but let's be real. Let's be real about Raymond Ford. He's always been a little bit overrated. In terms of what his skill set actually is and what the perception is, he's always been a little bit overrated. And I told you guys, I said, look, I told you guys in the build up to the fight, I said, look, even though Raymond Ford was a National Golden Gloves champion, and even though he is part of that Shakur Stevenson camp, I don't view him as an upper echelon elite boxer. He's a guy that's big for his weight classes because he's cutting down from his walk around weight. Most of you guys may not know this, but Raymond Ford is walking around at 160 pounds plus. You understand? So he really is at his best when he's in the mid-range and in the pocket. He's never really outboxed an upper echelon opponent like that. And I knew for a fact he had, I don't want to say zero chance, but he had a very little chance to outbox Oshaki Foster on the outside. And that was proven and in class told as the fight wore on. So while I think it's a good win, I don't look at it as a win where you could definitively say, okay, this makes Shock Foster a top 10 pound fighter. But what I can say it does, being that Raymond Ford is a former world is a world champion. He's beat some good fighters. Um, I would say it puts him on that 15 to 20 range. Guys that are teetering right there. That if they get a certain win, they are now top 10 pound for pound. So if he can beat a Vaquero, if he can beat someone had mentioned Lamont Roach, if he beats Lamont Roach, goes to 35, beats Lamont Roach. Let's say Lamont Roach becomes champion against Cepeda. He beats Lamont Roach. Now we're talking about him being top 10 pound for pound, I think. And by the way, just so you guys know, if he does fight Lamont Roach, he's going to beat Lamont Roach 117, 111. That's gonna be a I don't want to say an easy fight, but I would say very close to an easy fight for O'Shaquie Foster. I like Roach. I think he's good, but we know what Roach is. Roach is a fighter that likes to fight in the pocket. He likes to get down in them trenches. He comes from that DC headbanger school of boxing, and he don't got the fastest feet in the world. That's why Isaac Cruz, Pitbull Cruz, was circling the ring against him and having success in spots of their fight when they fought back in December of 2025. So you get a guy like Shock Foster who keeps things nice and long and rangy and professional on the outside. It's going to be a 117, 111 type of fight, unless O'Shaquie Foster is just an idiot and fights in the pocket and gets hurt and gets clipped or something. And even then, I just don't think Roach is punching on that level. We need the official True School Sports top 10 pound for pound. I should make one. What do you think is going to happen with Ola Squaganov? Is there anyone you want to see him face? Well, I know his fight with Andy Dominguez got canceled in the Bay Area, and I'm disappointed about that because I did want to see that fight. I wanted to go to that fight because I like the Bay Area, and it was a great excuse for me to go to the Bay Area. I'm cool with both fighters. To be honest, I want to see that fight. I still want to see that fight. So even if it can't happen on IVB Boxing Promotions, I would still like to see Andy Dominguez get his shot Olas Kuwaga and see that fight. If we can't get that fight, then I would like to see Andy Dominguez or I would like to see Anthony Olas Kuwaga defend the belt against former WBA champion Seigo Yuri Akui, who just got active and won a fight recently. I like that fight a lot. Seigo Yuri Akui is one of boxing and Japanese boxing's true warriors, and he's one of my favorite fighters of the lower weight classes. So I like to see him get his shot. And if he could become 2 division champion, that'd be great. So I would say either one of those 2 fights. You give me Olas Kuwaga versus Dominguez, which like it was originally scheduled, or give me Olas Kuwaga versus Seigo Yuri Akui, and I'm good. I can't really complain if any of those fights happen. But guys, do me a favor. All 43 of y'all in here, make sure you smash that like button. Definitely subscribe if you're new to the channel. Super chat, all that blase. And let me know, roll call. I want to do a quick roll call. Let me know what city, what state, what continent you're watching from. I want to see how international we are on the broadcast. And yeah. LOL. I don't know. Roach has seen a lot of styles. I don't know if he can break up Foster's rhythm, he can get onto him. I don't think really he has seen a lot of styles. I give you that one. But okay, look, I don't want to just judge him off the loss, and I know it's a different style because this guy's a southpaw. I don't know, man. I think Shock Foster is terrible for him. I think it's a bad matchup for him. I feel like Roach, you got to get guys that are willing to sit there in the pocket long term, guys that don't have that either A, don't have a high work rate, or B, aren't elite outside fighters. And I think Shock Foster is definitely, when you talk about outside fighters, outside boxing, range, keeping your range, he's one of the best in the business. I feel, and that's why Shakur Stevenson, has his track shoes on, and he's trying to, he's pump faking out. He don't want to fight O'Shaquie Foster, and I'm sorry, I don't care what you think Shakur Stevenson would do. I don't care if you think Shakur Stevenson is too big for O'Shaquie Foster. Nope. Until Shakur Stevenson fight O'Shaquie Foster, I'm gonna continue talking crazy because, how can you sit here and say you the best fighter in the world and skills pay the bills, and you never fought you never once in your career fought an elite outside fighter. Never, not once in your entire career. Okay, we got the Bay Area. We got Bay Area in the building. Shout out to Chanel Panel. New Jersey. Got New Jersey. San Antonio, Texas in the building. So go Spurs. By the way, for the NBA Finals, I'm going for the Spurs. You know, I'm going for the Spurs. I can't see the Knicks win the title. Vlad in New York. Shout out to New York City. We got TSM in Washington. We got my man. He says I'm from the Bay Area. Big shout out to you. Shout out to the whole Bay Area. Shout out to Oakland, San Francisco, Hayward, the whole Bay Area. Sweden. Okay, shout out to Sweden. Shout out to Sweden. BT with Goodman, Cardinals. Do you think Cardinals versus Hernandez Reyes is possible next? I would love to see. Listen, I think that's one of the best. If I made a list of the top 10 fights in the whole sport of boxing that I want to see the most, I would say that Ramon Cardenas versus Sebastian Hernandez Reyes would easily crack my top 5. Easily. That's a great fight. You're talking about Ramon Cardenas, one of the most dynamic boxer punchers, featherweight on down, against one of the better pressure fighters from Mexico right now, Sebastian Hernandez Reyes. I think it's a great style. Mexican, Puro Mexico versus a Chicano. That always bodes well in the excitement department. That's a great fight. We should get that fight, but I know we're trying to do the Sam Goodman versus Cardinals. I'm not against that fight either because I do class Sam Goodman highly as a fighter, but I'd rather see Cardinals versus Reyes, if I'm being honest. Is Tio elite? Tio's an elite fighter, but he's not an elite outside fighter. Tio is a guy that when you break him down as a fighter, you know, fast twitch muscles, reflexes, counter punching at times, explosiveness. I would say he's a mid range. I don't want to say he's an inside fighter, but he's primarily a mid range fighter who relies heavily on his reflexes and things like that. You know, he's definitely not an elite outside fighter because if you looked at what's given Tio the most problems throughout the duration of his career, it's always been boxers, Sandor Martin, Shakur Stevenson, Jermaine Ortiz, these kind of guys, even Masayoshi Nakatani to a lesser extent, right? So elite fighter, yes, but not an elite outside fighter, which is why Shakur Stevenson took the fight against him because stylistically the fight made a lot of sense. That's why for me that fight was not a hard fight to pick. Mr. Miyagi, shout out to you in the chat. Anthony Olas Kuaga is unbelievable. He fought Cashapp in his 5th fight. He lost. That's what I'm saying. Like Anthony Olas Kuaga, he's obviously got his flaws. I thought personally he lost to Hiroto Kiyoguchi, but he's a guy that's been tested, that's been through the fire. That I can honestly say, you know, American fighters get a lot of criticism because it's easy. It's easy, whether it be in soccer in the World Cup or even, you know, in boxing. It's just very easy to shit on anything that's American, right? But he's been one of the true champions from the States. When are you sliding back to the Bay Area? Is your boy still Virgil Hunter? So I was planning on doing it in July, but the fight got canceled, so I don't know. I'll probably be back in the Bay right before I go back to Japan because I'm probably gonna fly out from the Bay to Japan, but I don't know when I'm going to Japan yet. I just know it's gonna be sometime this year between September and December. So I would say I'll be back in the Bay Area sometime between September and December before I go to Japan. As far as my boy, is he still a Virgil Hunter? You're talking about Yugo Osaki, one of the best young fighters in the world, and in my humble opinion, the best young fighter from Japan. Stop talking to me about Yugo Fujiki. Stop talking to me about these Katakoa brothers and these kind of no. Yuga Osaki. All right. Now, no, he is not with Virgil Hunter anymore. He's in a new situation now. He's training in the Philippines now, and he's got a new co-promotional deal. But you know he's getting active again, which I'm happy about. He just fought like a week and a half ago. First fight since December 2024. Got a second round stoppage. He's turning around and he's fighting again on July 15th. He's going to be headlining at the Corkin Hall. Another stay busy fight. He's making up for lost time. He's fighting another Filipino fighter for the WBO Asia Pacific title. So God willing, after that, he could fight a top 10 fighter, a top 15 fighter, top 10 fighter. And then I'm hoping by the early spring of 2027, Yugo Osaki should be fighting for a world title. And he should be winning a world title, honestly. And honestly, he may if they want to put Yugo Osaki in a world title fight this calendar year, there's not a light flyweight in the world that I'm scared of him fighting against. I think he'll beat the dog shit out of Shokichi Iwata. Um, I think, any of the guys at 108 pounds. Rene Santiago, I think he'll beat Rene Santiago on points, possibly late stoppage. And Simsiri, Yugo's defense could get a little bit leaky, so maybe that one I'll be a little bit concerned about, but I think he could even beat Simsiri. So he's listen, man. I've seen him in the gym. You ask anybody who's seen him in the gym, you ask any of the matchmakers in boxing that know about him, they'll tell you this kid is the truth. And you guys know how highly I think of Angelo Leo. I would say outside of right next to Angelo Leo, Yugo Osaki, in terms of the fighters I've had a time to spend extended time with in the gym, he's one of the most talented fighters I've ever been around. BT, a while back, someone told you about a channel that made a documentary, and I finally watched it, and it looks like there's this kid, and he looks pretty good. His name is Shinon Yokoyama. Have you heard? He's 14. Have you heard of him? No, I haven't. I haven't heard of him, but there's always Japan's a factory of talent, especially in a lot of weight categories. So there's always guys I've never heard about coming through. Um, Only Yokoyama I know about is Aoi Yokoyama, who I like a lot, but he's kind of struggled recently in recent times to look great. But who are my top three Japanese prospects? So we'll go with the two Yugas. Number one, Yugo Osaki. Number two, Yuga Fujiki. And number three will be Yuta Sakai. And then honorable mention, we'll put Aoi Yokoyama because he's been having some pretty down performances, but I still like him. Who do I think will win the World Series? The Marlins. How about that? We'll go with the Miami Marlins, the hottest team in baseball. They're within striking distance of a playoff spot. Young team. They got the bats. Pitching starting to finally catch up to the bats. So I'll be biased and I'll say the Marlins. I think the Marlins will be in the playoffs this year. TSM Harden says Aoi Yokoyama doesn't look that good to me. He looked good in his pro debut. He ain't looked that great since. It's been tough sledding for him since. He hasn't lost yet, but he just hasn't looked as sensational as he did in that pro debut. So we'll see if he figures it out. Listen carefully. Oshaki Foster is a figment of the imagination. He doesn't go 12 with Navarrete. P.S. Raymond Ford is garbage. End of story. I want to see it. I want to see Shock Foster versus Vaquero. I think Vaquero's reach would be able to offset a lot of some things that Oshaki Foster likes to do. So it might force Oshaki Foster to be a bit more aggressive, which obviously would play into Vaquero, his strength, which is being a volume puncher. But make the damn fight happen. If we can't get Shakur Stevenson versus Shock Foster like we were promised by Shakur himself, then I think Shock Foster versus Navarrete is definitely not a bad consolation. Simsiri and Santiago are too experienced right now. I don't know, man. Look, man. I've seen Yugo Osaki spar some pretty experienced guys. I'm not gonna say no names, but I've seen him in there with experienced guys in the gym, and I've seen him humiliate them in the gym. He's good. I'm telling y'all, like, yeah, I am a little biased just because I've spent time around him. I know how good he is. I would like to see him get more experience before fighting those guys. But I'm just saying, if they were to match him against any of the current light flyweight champions, there's not a fighter currently holding a belt where I would be like, damn, I'm overly concerned. I think he'd have a great chance to beat any of those guys. This guy is hater. Vaquero has been exposed, so he does not want the rematch with Suarez. He might even get stripped. I mean, again, that's another fight that needs to happen. You're right. Charlie Suarez deserves his shot as well. How do I think Teofimo Lopez will do as a welterweight? I'm very intrigued to see how he does at welterweight. I think I have genuine concerns about how his punching power is going to carry up. because he didn't really flash elite punching power at 140. Like at least not in the same ways that he did when he was a 35 pounder. Because we got, man, Mattia was a 35 pounder when he was fighting Magdaleno and them kind of guys. He was sitting shit down. Like he was really in the upper echelon puncher at 135. Wasn't that puncher at 40. So conventional wisdom would tell me that we're gonna have to see more of the slick boxer Gordo from the amateurs. And he's going to at least need to have enough punching power to keep guys honest. And he's going to have to win fights at 47 with his reflexes, his boxing skills, his sharpshooting ability, and his counterpunching, right? Which I think will be interesting because guys at 47 obviously hit a lot harder. If there's a fight I would like to see Teofimo Lopez in, and I've been saying this for a while now, I would like to see Teofimo Lopez fight Brian Norman Jr. I think that would be a very interesting fight. I'll check it out. I'll check that documentary out. Thank you. Jazz says that IVB Boxing said they were going to pack the place in San Francisco with over 100K people. As a hardcore fan, I barely heard about the event like a month ago. The event was never even going to sell 10,000 tickets. I mean, I appreciate the ambition, and it's good to be ambitious in life, but you gotta put like the kind of action that can match that ambition. And as much as I love Olas Kuwaga, as much as I love Eddie Dominguez, they're not even that known to a lot of hardcore fans. So I mean, 100K was delusional, 10K was overly ambitious, but I don't know. I can't knock them. I can't knock them for the ambition. My man Johnny says when I do my movie in my documentary, what did Wilder say? Guys, give me like 2 minutes. I'm gonna come back. I gotta get some water. I'm very thirsty. I will be back in 2 to 3 minutes. Leave your comments down below. Smash a like button, super chat, subscribe, all that blase, and I promise you I will be back here quickly and swiftly. So see you soon. All right, I'm back, guys. I'm back. I just had to get a quick drink. But shout out to everybody here. Make sure you smash that like button. It is, in fact, your boy BT, the untouchable True School Sports Empire. I hope everybody's having an exceptional afternoon as we we got Bam Rodriguez versus Vargas tonight. So if you don't get a live for that one, you'll definitely get at the bare minimum a post fight review video for sure. And yeah, we'll see how Bam looks tonight. We'll see how Bam looks tonight against a guy that's young and has amateur pedigree and is definitely hungry to prove a point. It's better. I like this fight better than a lot of other Bam fights that have happened recently, just because of the fact that this guy's in his prime. He's 29. He's got good pedigree. He can box. He's naturally a big guy for the weight class. I don't think it'll matter because I just think Bam is better than him. But I think it's just on paper, it's a better fight stylistically. Jupe says, I wanted to give a quick shout out on your thumbnails, on your new thumbnails for your videos. They look good. Thank you, man. I've been playing around with like the whole Chat GPT stuff, so AI stuff. So occasionally I'll use it for thumbnails, especially for the lives. But thank you. Carlos Adames versus Olis Iglesias at 168. Good fight. I'm hoping they get it done. I know they were in negotiations. I don't know if they still are, but I'll tell you this, man. If Adames fights now, a lot of y'all were asking me about pound for pound. If Adames were to go to 168 and rip the IBF title off of Iglesias, I would give him serious pound for pound consideration. That's a guy that's been champion at 60. Really, he beat Hamza Shiraz. Let's be real. And to go up there and fight the guy that nobody wants to fight, young, undefeated, hard punching, Cuban knockout artist, in his prime, that would say a lot to me. I would say a lot. I would give him real strong consideration for that 10 spot if he were to do that. And I'm hoping that fight can get over the line. Pac-Man, what's good? What's good? I've been wanting Johnny Beck for Adames for a long time. Maybe they'll beat at 168. I don't know what's up with Johnny Beck. Yeah, Johnny Beck. I don't know. I mean, they're probably maybe his managers probably keeping him on the sideline so maybe they want people to really forget about the steroid thing. I don't know. It wasn't easy for Johnny Beck to get fights when he was champion, so I can't imagine him without a belt. It's probably even 100 times harder. Iglesias is less proven than Raymond Ford. Yeah, but I mean, Iglesias and Raymond Ford have been world champion for about the same amount of time. So I mean, could we really say that? I mean, Raymond Ford was world champion for like what 88 days before he lost it. Because I remember he wasn't champion. Raymond Ford wasn't even world champion for 90 days. But we're about an hour in, guys. So make sure you guys go ahead and smash that like button. Definitely, get your questions in. I'm gonna be on here for like at least another hour. Cause what is it? It's 1:39. Today I'm just gonna chill at the house and I'm gonna watch the Marlins game. Then I'm gonna watch Brazil versus Morocco. Then I'm gonna watch the Knicks versus the Spurs, and then I'll probably watch Bam versus Vargas. So definitely an exciting day in the sports world. For sure. I still want to see the amateur fight. I remember you teased what you wanted to do for 100K, and it didn't sound like it was in your plans. Come on, BT. Doesn't it sound cool? Stream it plus first fan meetup. I'm not ruling it out. To be honest with you guys, if I could just be blowing you for a second. As many of you guys know, I went to training camp with Angel Leo for the Raif Salim fight. I was in camp with him for like almost 90, about 80 plus days. We'll say almost 90 days, and I sparred like 25 rounds. 21 of those rounds were with my boy Eric Lances Jr., who has 14 pro fights, and we sparred at a pretty high altitude, and I got pushed to the limit. And it was hard. There were some days where like I wanted to cry. Like I wanted to cry some days, but it made me better. It made me a lot better of a person. And I'll be honest with you, like ever since training camp ended, I mean, life hasn't been the same. I miss it. I want to go back to training camp. To be honest with you, that was the happiest I've been all year. Just in training camp. So as far as the whole thing about having an amateur fight, I'm not ruling it out. Why not? Boxing, I'm at my healthiest when I'm consistently training in the gym. Um, to be honest. So who knows? Who knows what the future holds? As far as streaming, it's funny. When I was down there in Miami like 2 weeks ago, I met this girl who was a streamer. We became good friends. Her name is Malik. Shout out to Malik. I was actually on her stream. She did like a 10-hour stream. I was on the stream. Me and Angela were on the stream, and my boy Eric was on the stream. So I've been getting more curious about the streaming world ever since I met her. It's been a very interesting deep dive into the streaming world. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely down for like I don't like saying fans because I feel like when you start calling people fans, that would that would imply that you're some sort of celebrity, and I don't look at myself as no celebrity. I'm a regular guy like you guys. Even what's funny is though sometimes people treat me like a celebrity. Like when I was in camp, recently I just signed my first two autographs. I've had two people in the last 2 months ask me for my autograph, which is pretty cool. But I'm still a regular guy, so I mean, of course, I would love to do a fan meetup at some point. But right now, honestly, I'm just trying to get some consistency going back on True School Sports. Like I've really been on some bullshit these last, 12 to almost 2 weeks. Black Ray Donovan, what's good, champ? Good to see you. Boxing is so hard. People don't appreciate it until they get in the ring and experience it. There's nothing like it. There isn't. And to be honest, everything else in the world feels fake. Because one thing you can't fake being in that boxing ring. I'm sorry. Like one thing about boxing that I learned even more in this training camp is that when you have hard sparring sessions, you learn a lot of things about yourself, good and bad. And sometimes the bad and the ugly truths are not fun to live with. You got to really come face to face with those things. Otherwise, you're just a bitch. And who wants to be a bitch at the end of the day, right? We all want to be strong, brave, masculine men, right? But we all have things about our character that we're working on constantly, and the boxing ring will bring all those things out. And so during camp, there were I had some not so good days in the gym, very not so good days in the gym, but I had to come back the next day or the next sparring session and be better. Otherwise, you around all these guys that are fighters, these strong top 1% guys. If you can't, if you're gonna be soft, you're not gonna hang. You know. Do you like it to the body, BT? Pause. Nobody likes it to the body. I don't care who you are, and nobody likes getting hit to the body. Is Odabek Komatov gonna fight soon? Um, if he does, I mean, from what I've heard, he signed a Zuba Boxing now because Top Rank cut him. So, I mean, if he is, it's not going to be because guys is volunteering to fight him. He's one of the most high risk, low reward guys in the sport of boxing. That's why I give Raymond Ford his credit because it's a hard fight for anybody. I think Wilder versus Jarrell Miller makes a lot of sense. That'd be a fun fight. I've always wanted to see a Wilder versus Miller. I got videos on this channel from like 2016 talking about that fight. That'd be an amazing fight. There's not those are the only two notable American heavyweights of the last 10 years. Everybody else been trash. What you're explaining is exactly why I love boxing. It forced you to face. Yeah, and it's crazy because ever since training camp ended, I have so many demons in my life, and ever since training camp ended, I feel like those demons start flaring up again. And when I was in training camp, I just felt like, damn, this is the real me. This is really really me.
Maximus Davis says, expand on those things you learned that you didn't like about yourself in the ring. That's so interesting. I'm feeling that I call people cheaters, but maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not good. I don't know what you mean by that last part of your comment, Maximus. But as far as the things that I learned about myself in the ring that I didn't like, well, one of the hard truths that I had to come to grips with early in camp is that I'm tough, but I'm not as tough as I like to think I am, right? And it made me have to bite down. I had to really find my balls a lot of times in these sparring sessions. And I guess one of the things that I learned about myself in camp that I didn't like early in camp that I definitely overcame as camp went on was that I have a fear of failure, like an intense fear of failure, and sometimes it can become overwhelming, right? But then, as you spar enough times, the fear of failure just leaves you, and you're like, okay, I want to have a good day today, and I want to have something to be proud of today, and you start becoming more calm. Sometimes in life, I have a lot of anxiety, like debilitating anxiety. I'm talking about anxiety to where I don't want to talk to nobody for 10 days, and I'll just be by myself for 10 days. I'm talking about anxiety where I can't even explain it, but I have a lot of anxiety. And for the most part, especially as I've gotten older, for the most part, I've gotten better at handling anxiety, and I've channeled it into content creation. That's why there's so many videos on True School Sports, because I take my anxiety and I make it my bitch and I bend it to my will, and I create YouTube videos. And now, like, I've gotten into, like, the last 3 months, I've gotten into like Shopify and e-commerce, because I've always been interested in clothes and shopping online and I'm a creative person. I don't view myself just as a YouTuber. I view myself as a bit of a visionary. I view myself as like the Kanye West of boxing media, of just boxing in general, not just boxing media, in the creative aspect. So I use things that that would be deemed negative about myself, and I make it a positive, right? But yeah, that's kind of what I could tell you. You could talk tough. One thing about the boxing ring is you could talk tough till the cows come home. You could talk all the shit you want, but inevitably, you're gonna have to put your hand wraps on. You're gonna have to put on your cup. And for me personally, when it really gets real is when I put the headgear on. The wraps is cool. The cup is cool. The shoes is cool. But for some reason, when the headgear comes on, that's when I'm like, oh shit, okay, it's about to get real now. I'm about to really step into the lion's den. And then you got to breathe. You got to do a lot of breathing. So I do a lot of breathing. I try to keep things as simple as possible. And you just try to be in the millisecond. Like I heard Keith Thurman one time. Keith Thurman talked about being in the millisecond. So I kind of repeated that to myself. But yeah, it's insane in there. It's BT speaking facts. The truth comes out in the boxing. Boxing as workouts hard, it's up. But when you're sparring, fighting, the real comes out. That's why I admire the elites. Yeah, like, and just so you guys know, just in that training camp. So for the Rice Salim training camp, I'll give you guys a rundown. Obviously, it's the Angelo Leo training camp. So he's like the 1%. Any professional fighter, just to even compete and fight in an 8-round fight, a 10-round fight, a 12-round fight, you gotta be like in the damn near 1% of fitness, right? But if you're a world, like, forget world champions, if you're like a top 15, top 20 guy, you're like in the 1% of the 1%. And if you're a world champion, you're like in the 0.0000001% of the 1%. So you got Angelo Leo. He's that. You got, guys with 10 plus pro fights, like Eric Lanzas Jr., Fernando Paredes, who's got like 5 pro fights. You had other guys that came into camp that had, 50 amateur fights. You had other guys that had, 10, like, you got guys at all levels. And then you have my ass, who's just, I would consider myself a good athlete, because growing up, I played basketball, I played baseball, I played roller hockey, I played flag football. And of course, later on, I picked up boxing when I was 19. So, and I'm a bit I have a couple screws loose, so I'm not scared to step in there. But it's a lot to deal with when you got guys that have experience and you have the least experience of everybody. So yeah, you learn a lot about yourself, and I'm very proud of the man that I've become from January of this year to June of this year, because the guy that entered this year is not the guy that you're talking to right now in front of this camera. I'll tell you guys that right now. Don't let anxiety win. It's a daily fight. It's a daily fight. That's why you work on being in the present. You put your faith in the Lord, and you try to just keep things as simple as possible. But sometimes it's not that easy. There's a lot of things that go on. Like not to toot my own horn, but I have a lot of things going on in the sport of boxing now. It's not just YouTube anymore. It's like, between YouTube and then between stuff that I'm doing with Angelo now, that other fighters that I help advise and try to guide in their careers behind closed doors that I won't name. But like, there's that, and it's just like it's a lot on my shoulders. And sometimes, if I'm not careful, it's so much on my shoulders where I'm just like, damn, like I can't handle all this. So that's real talk. Y'all want real talk? Y'all want vulnerability? There's some real talk. There's some vulnerability for you. What you said. What you said some streams ago has stuck to me still. You said believe in yourself to the point of delusion. I won't forget it. And it's crazy because when I was down there in Miami, I told Angelo that same thing. We was out and about one night, and I told him, I said, bro, I really believe in you. I think you're one of the best. I really do believe you're one of the best fighters in the world. And I told him, I said, look, bro, if you fight an Espinoza, if you fight an Inoue, if you fight a Bruce Carrington, let's just say the worst case scenario happens and you get dropped in the first round, and 80% of the arena is cheering against you. You got to have that delusional belief in yourself in the ring to overcome and win the fights. I told him that. And I told him that for other things in his life. And I said, you could have the shittiest of circumstances going in your life. You have to believe in yourself to the point of utter delusion. I've had to do that many times just to continue this boxing dream here on YouTube. I've had some very low moments I don't talk about to continue to cover the sport of boxing. And I've had to believe in myself. I've had to block out a lot of noise from, negative comments again on YouTube, to sometimes family members, to sometimes people that I thought were my friends, to keep this dream alive. And I've had to believe in myself to the point of utter delusion. Why do you guys think for the last 6 years I've started damn near every video off with the untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's missing? Because many times I don't feel like the untouchable. I don't feel like anything. I don't feel great. Everything sometimes will tell you that, hey, you really aren't going to accomplish anything in life. And you got to believe when nobody believes. You got to believe when the chips are down, so that inevitably the chips can be up. So there you go. There's a bar right there. Pac-Man says, very true. I spar my teammates getting ready for fights, and stuff like sparring them helps me mentally a lot. I deal with anxiety too when I'm in the ring. Sparring is a time I don't really feel any. Yeah, I mean, you can't feel anything. In sparring, you got to try to not feel anything and just be in the moment and execute what you're capable of doing. Because you start panicking, you let anxiety take over, that's when you get your ass whooped. BT, could you see Tucker versus Daniel stealing the show for the Zayas and his card? Who do you favor in that fight? Good fight. I definitely could. It's a very, very close fight. I'll hedge it slightly towards Shahai Tucker because I think he's got a bit more firepower, but I think Daniel has the boxing skills to overcome the awkwardness, because Tucker is an awkward guy. He throws some weird angles. He's got a bit of an awkward timing, and he's heavy-handed. But I think I'm going to lean just so slightly towards Tucker. What do you think of the 4 rookie Ohashi gym fighters as they fought a couple days ago? I saw some clips. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think you're referring to the Katakoa brothers, who I haven't watched a ton of. I saw some clips. Yugo Fujiki fought. Yugo Fujiki is a good fighter. Yugo Fujiki, I would say, is definitely one of the top prospects coming out of Japan right now, but he's the second best Yuga. Let's make no mistakes about it. He may be getting all the hype in the headlines, but he's not the best Yuga from Japan. The best Yuga from Japan is Yuga Osaki, but very good fighter, a lot of potential. Gonna be fighting in heavier weight classes. I like him a lot. Yeah, Japanese boxing's in a great place. Maximus 7 says, "Damn, BT, such good stuff." Yeah, man. I mean, I don't try to, I try to just keep it boxing. And one thing I'm learning as I get older is that in this world, authenticity and vulnerability will take you a long way. So every now and then, if y'all ask me the right questions, I might give y'all the right answers. But shout out to everybody here. It is in fact your boy BT, the one and the only. You can't clone me. The untouchable True School Sports in the flesh, live in the afternoon. The rare afternoon live, just knocking out the cobwebs. Get your questions in. I'm not sure how long this live is going to be, but it's definitely going to be at least 2 hours. So you guys got me here for at least 45 to 50 more minutes. So talk to me in the chat. That's a good fight. Hold on. So I'll probably be at that fight. My man right here says, "I'm picking Robinson Conceição to beat Muay. Who do you got?" That's a good fight. Now, it's crazy to me how many title shots Robinson Conceição has had in his career, because he's fought Valdez, he fought Shakur, he fought Navarrete. So he's like the Brazilian Joet Gonzalez. He's getting all these title shots, right? But that's a good question. I think it'll be a good fight for about 6.5, 7 rounds. If Ram Murataya fights close to his capabilities, I think he should win on points. Maybe get a late stoppage. Robinson Conceição, we've seen a lot of times in his career, especially in that Valdez fight, he can box at you, but he has this way of conning his way to the back half of a fight. And I just think that won't work. Him at a more advanced age against Murataya, that won't work. Murataya's got the experience now. He's went through the trials, tribulations of fighting guys like Tevin Farmer, Endon Jenny, Andy Cruz. He's proven me wrong. He's proven a lot to me. He's really earned my respect, and I got a lot of respect for him. So I got Murataya on points. By the way, shout out to Pops holding the last live down. I hadn't seen him do a live before, and it was pretty cool. Yeah, he's done a couple over the years. Back in like the 2020s and 2022, even 2023 at particular points. When I would go travel and I couldn't be by the computer, I would set the lives up for him, and I'll let him go for the lives. And people like seeing Pop his shit, by himself. So, definitely a great time. BT, did you see Zuffa hosting a McKenna fight for a middleweight title? It didn't say Zuffa title, so I'm guessing a sanctioning body. Thoughts as it's not being talked about. Zuffa having a title bout. I mean, was it Aaron McKenna? Aaron McKenna versus Etinosa Oliha. That's the IBF title fight, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, look, I think inevitably this is not UFC, right? So Dana White and them could have their plans and their ambitions, but it's just too much. It's too much to overcome. It's too much to overcome as far as the politics and the history of boxing. So I think we're gonna get a happy medium. You're already seeing Super Boxing bend their will a little bit. They're making exceptions for Edgar Berlanga. They're having fights at 168 when they said they wouldn't have a 168. So I mean, it's to be expected. Shout out to Hyro. He says even 2019 Charles versus Harrison. Yeah, my dad was laughing at that one. And Lance Meyer, shout out to you, showing love in the chat. He says Pops is the man, the best duo in the YouTube boxing community. Listen, man, I ain't mad at it. Some people say the best duo on the YouTube boxing community is me and Pops. Some people say that the best duo in the YouTube boxing community is me and Sean Zattel. But either way you cut it up, slice it, and dice it, I'm just glad that I'm part of both of them. By the way, shout out to Sean Tatel. I haven't talked to Sean Tatel like in 2 weeks, so hopefully me and him could collab soon and feed the boxing streets the content y'all need, because it's crazy to me. Everywhere I go, whether I be in Florida, New York, Texas, Vegas, California, Japan, everyone tells me the same thing. They say, "Man, BT, I love when you and Sean Tatel collaborate. That's like the Kobe Bryant and Shaq in boxing media, you know." So hopefully, we can get one soon for you guys. Y'all need to make a video about Boots versus Zayas. We do, and I want to make it very clear, guys. I do not have a prediction for Boots versus Zayas. I'm not making a prediction for that fight because I want to actually just enjoy it. I don't want to be married to my pick. So I'm gonna probably say this about 500 more times before they fight, but I'm not making a prediction. I'll tell you guys strengths and weaknesses on both sides. I can break down both sides, but I'm not making a prediction. Top 3 fights wish list for the remainder of the year. My top 3 fights wish list will go with Ramon Cardenas versus Sebastian Hernandez Reyes. I'll say Naoya Inoue versus any one of the featherweight champions. And then I will say Dea Benavidez versus Artur Beterbiev. We'll go with those 3. Hyro says, BT, have you talked about the big fight everyone is talking about since Spence Crawford, Opataya versus Benavidez? They don't want to fight him. Yeah, you know what? Thank you, Hyro. Thank you for reminding me, because I almost forgot. And I gotta do a separate video on this when I start making my videos again. But where the hell did all these Jai Opataya fans come from? Guys, I've been covering Jai Opataya faithfully on this channel since 2022 when he beat Marius Briedis in the first fight. I vividly remember making a video when Jai Opataya beat Hussein Sin Cara back in December. Nobody cared about Jai Opataya. But all of a sudden, now that he's with Zuffa Boxing and Dana White, now all of a sudden, all these Jai Opataya fans are coming out of the woodworks and saying, yeah, Dave Benavidez, he doesn't want to fight Jai. He doesn't want to fight him. And I'm just like, where was y'all at when he fought Sin Cara? Where was y'all at when he fought Jordan Thompson? I'm getting all these people talking all this shit about Dave Benavidez, all in the name of Jai Opataya. Now, look, I like Jai Opataya. I'm probably one of the biggest Jai Opataya fans out there. But, like, man, I'm just sick of it, man. I'm sick of these boxing hipsters, and I'm sick of, like, so I'm sick of, I'm gonna tell you guys this. I've always hated, like, race fans in boxing because I don't believe in just supporting fighters because of their race. I believe there's only one race, the human race, right? So, of course, back in the day, I had it out with the LDBC. You know, a lot of the LDBC channels hated my guts back in the day. They still do now, right? But I also have it out for these boxing hipsters that just hate on anything that has to do with America, PBC, and I'll just call a spade, PBC or black fighters. It's ridiculous. So Benavidez falls under the PBC, and all these boxing hipsters are just hating on Benavidez because he's getting hype, because Dave Benavidez is the truth, right? He's nothing but the truth. And there's this narrative now saying, yeah, every weight class that Benavidez is in, he never fights the best guys. He doesn't want to fight Jai. And he could fight Jai because Jai's on Zuffa, and he could fight him on a ring card. And ring, shut up. Like, shut up with this whole Jai and Zuffa and ring bullshit. Jai being with Zuffa is going to be a roadblock. I hate to break it to you guys. Unlike a lot of people that yap their mouths about Zuffa Boxing, I actually know people that work for Zuffa Boxing. I know one of the main matchmakers. I know Dana White's best friend that works for them. I know so many people on the damn Zuffa Boxing staff that have literally told me, we don't have an interest in working with the sanctioning body titles. Now, of course, they're going to have to make some compromises in certain scenarios. That's why you're seeing Aaron McKenna and Oliha. And when it suits their narrative, when it makes sense, they will work with sanctioning bodies. But they're not going to do it in every scenario, and this is one of them scenarios, right? Dave Benavidez doesn't duck anybody. The only person you could say Dave Benavidez ever ducked in his whole career, and I won't go at your throat about it, is Artur Beterbiev, because in 2020, in and around that time, he missed weight for a fight. He was at 168. The WBC moved him up from 168 to 175. They installed him as a number one contender. He could have fought Artur Beterbiev way back then. He told the WBC no, reinstated back to 168, and they went back and they fought, and then they reinstated him, and that was that. That's the only person you could say. Even now, he calls out Bivol, sure. He says he wants to fight Opetaia, sure, and he has said he wants to fight Beterbiev, but it's not quite as much as the other guys. So if you want to say Beterbiev, I will give you that one, even though I don't agree with that now. Benavidez has fought. Listen, at one particular point, people were saying he didn't want to fight Dan Morrell Jr. He fought Dan Morrell Jr., right? At one particular point, people said, oh, he didn't want to fight Caleb Plant. He fought Caleb Plant. He fought Demetrius Andrade, the guy that Canelo never wanted to fight for years. Canelo ducked Andrade at 54, ducked him at 160. Benavidez fought him 168. No problem. Beat the shit out of him. We haven't heard from Andrade since. Andrade is about to come back now after that beating he took almost 3 years ago. So my thing is like, these people that are coming out the work to hate on Benavidez, they're doing this shit because it's popular, and they hate Al Heyman, and they hate PBC, and they hate America. That's the actual factual truth of the matter. You understand? So in conclusion, to wrap up this point, I don't like the LDBC because they be on some bullshit, right? In many cases, and they can't just enjoy boxing. But I also hate boxing hipsters. These people that because anything but American fighters, if it's anything from Japan, if it's anything from the Ukraine, if it's anything from Eastern Europe, it's good. If it's from America, it's bad. That shit is gay too. They're different sides of the same extreme. It's trash on both sides. You understand me? So I want to make that very clear. I want to make that very known. And it's funny that I'm saying that because a lot of people like to bracket me and label me as a boxing hipster because of my love for Japanese boxing, because I'll sit here and I'll talk your ear off about Yugo Saki and certain fighters from Japan that don't get a lot of, if any, coverage in American media. So they assume that I'm just this boxing hipster. I'm not. I love the sport of boxing. I love Japanese boxing. It's meaningful work to me to cover Japanese boxing. But if I call a spade, Inoue Nakatani to me was a sorry ass fight, and Junto Nakatani should not be on the pound list because he hasn't had a good performance since he fought Ryosuke Nishida. All right, and people would say, well, BT. So a lot of American fans, they'll say, oh, well, BT, you dick right all Japanese fighters, but I'll tell you the truth about what I think about certain Japanese fighters and situations in Japanese boxing. Then when I do that, the box hipsters say, oh, well, BT, you're a hater, you're just saying this because of you're not really a fan in a way. So it's just like, when you really tell the truth in boxing, you get hated on and you get criticized from every angle like I do. So I'll leave it at that. Most of the hate from the WBC trying to block Opetaia from the McCallion fight and mandated him to fight Benavidez. Well, look, it's politics. It's politics. Zuffa boxing is a threat to the boxing sanctioning body infrastructure, right? So do I agree with it? No. Do I think it's cool? No. But I understand politics. I understand why it's happening. Opetaia and his team put himself in a disadvantageous position because Opetaia's main goal is to unify the titles, right? That's his ambition. He has stated that so many times. I want to unify. When he signed his video, when he went to Zuffa Boxing, and he did his first promotional video with Zuffa Boxing, he mentioned unification fights being undisputed in that video. They went to Zuffa Boxing, who clearly don't have an ambition to work with the sanctioning bodies if they don't have to. I know that for a fact. They want to create their own thing, their own ecosystem. Hence the reason why they're on Capitol Hill. They're trying to change Muhammad Ali Act so they can do things more in their favor, right? But it's politics. Benavidez. To be honest with you, it's bad. It's bad enough. Noel McCallion is a WBC champion to begin with because Noel McCallion ducked Ryan Rozicki I don't know how many times. Isn't Pops high on Antonio Vargas? I don't know. I don't think Pops watched Antonio Vargas fight, if I'm honest with you. My man right here says I would like Ray Ford to go to 135. If Fulton could still make 135, that'd be my wish list. Ford should go to 135. Raymond Ford's a big boy. Raymond Ford, I don't know how the hell he made featherweight. Raymond Ford is walking around at 160 plus. And it's crazy to me that he's barely been at 130. He hasn't been at 130 that long, guys. And he didn't have an easy weight cut against Foster. Now I don't think it would have mattered because I think stylistically speaking, Foster was a bad matchup for him. And if we're being honest, if Odebek Komatov didn't blow his knee out, he was on his way to getting outboxed against Komatov 2 years ago. %, BT. Ring IQ is an excellent and dedicated pundit, so his Benavidez Deranger syndrome is bewildering. You are no Turkey fanboy, the last man to stand, but Zuffa is an anti-American thing. Correct. And you know, when it comes to Turkey and Zuffa, I'm not like it's not, to me. It's not. I love boxing. It's a personal sport. I love boxing. Boxing is a huge part of my life. But like, it's not beyond me to give Turkey or Zuffa boxing credit if they're on here putting on badass fights, putting on amazing fights. I will give them their just due. I've done it plenty of times. But a lot of people that hate on Dea Benavidez, it's not really Benavidez they hate. It's what Benavidez currently represents in this current boxing landscape. American boxing is standing on its last leg. The PBC is the only somewhat standalone American promotional company. They're the only. I mean, yes, they've had guys that they've outsourced to fight on Riyadh season cards here and there, but they are not. They're not like Queensberry or Matchroom or Golden Boy. They put most of the shows on in America. And Benavidez represents PBC continuing to thrive and have a legitimate voice in the marketplace because Benavidez is marketable. He's an entertaining fighter. He's a damn good fighter, and he's a pound for pound fighter as well. You understand? So they don't like that because they feel like Benavidez staying around represents a lot of that old guard. You know, Al Heyman overpaying guys like Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, these kind of guys with that Waddell and Reed hedge fund money. So I understand where the hate comes from. I understand why they don't like Benavidez and what they feel he represents. But he's a come on. He's the truth. Dea Benavidez is the absolute truth. Listen, guys, at one particular point in time, I had my fair share of criticism about Dea Benavidez, but he's fought plenty of top competition. People will shit on Morrell now because Morrell hasn't looked so good in his last couple of fights. Zach Chelly beat the shit out of him. You know, Benavidez already beat him. He didn't look good against Hot Rod. He didn't look good against Imam Katayev. A lot of people thought he lost that fight. But before any of that happened, Benavidez versus Morrell was a big fight, and he fought him when he was undefeated. Okay, and now they want to rewrite history and say, oh, he didn't. Morrell wasn't shit. Plant wasn't shit, and Andre, like, come on, man. Those are all top fighters, and he beat the brakes off all of them. Low Shin says, "What's the biggest lesson you have learned being part of the Leo camp that you can share with an amateur?" The biggest thing I learned. That's a good question. What's the biggest thing I learned? The biggest thing I learned about. There's this quote. I'm gonna paraphrase it. There's a quote that I heard a long time ago, and the quote says that what is it? It says basically what I learned is that there's not really much of a difference, and I'm not being arrogant here, but there's not like boxing is a repetition sport, and there's not really as much of a difference between yourself and, let's say, a world champion as you think. The only difference between those guys and you is just it's repetition and unwavering dedication to the sport of boxing and getting better. Boxing is a jealous woman, and so I just learned that you got to get your experience. And I learned the biggest thing I would say I learned is that if the sun don't shine today, it'll shine eventually if you stick with it. And that's something you can say about life too. There's gonna be good days and there's gonna be bad days. See what I'm trying to what's like that? What's the number one thing I learned I could share with you? There's a lot of things I learned. What's the number one thing I learned from Leo's camp? I mean, everything I'm going to say is going to be cliche, but I'll just say that boxing is not a joke. Boxing is not a joke, and it's in your best interest. If you're going to pursue it, you better take it serious, because if not, you're going to find out why you should take it serious. I'll tell you that much right now. And the main thing I learned is just to be as humble as possible. Like, just be as humble as humanly possible, because as great as you think you are, as big and bad as you may think you are, there's always somebody bigger and badder, and you'll find out that there's levels real quickly if you think otherwise. And just continue to get better. Learn from everybody. Um, there were people in the gym. Obviously, all the guys we had in camp were more experienced than me, but there were some young kids that I had more experience than, that I learned from even them. You can learn from everybody. I would say the number one thing I could learn, that I learned, that was that you could literally learn from anybody at any level of boxing, from people more experienced than you to people that are just starting boxing. If you're humble enough to just observe and ask questions, so I would say that. Taylor says, "Where you been, BT? Hope all is well." Honestly, if y'all want the honest truth, there's a lot of things unresolved in my life that I need to handle, and sometimes when you don't handle these things, they linger and they linger and they linger, and you can fall into a lot of depression and anxiety. So that's where I've been at the last 2 weeks, for being honest with you. But God is good. God has shown me a lot of grace, and I'm back here. So good to be here. He says, yes, he's the closest thing to an American superstar. Bashed up, great opposition. Brits big him up. Sometimes only outsiders can judge you fairly. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's the closest thing we have to a superstar. And let's be real. Let's be real. The only reason Dave Benavidez is not a transcendent superstar is because Canelo didn't fight him. If Canelo would have actually fought him, and he would have had the opportunity, like all the great young fighters of yesteryear used to get, he would have beat Canelo. He would have beat Canelo from Genesis to Revelations, from Monday to Sunday, from January to December. He would have beat the dog shit out of Canelo, and we know why Canelo didn't fight him. If he would have got that fight, that was gonna be his fight that would have really put him over the top. Okay, he didn't get that fight, but look at what he's done. Look at what he's done. Benavidez has fought the biggest and best names that he could possibly find beside Canelo. Has it been anybody on that level? No. And I want to show you guys this, because look, hold on, I'm gonna show you guys this. Look, hold on. I'm gonna show you guys this, right? So right here on my YouTube set. This is a Ring magazine from April of 2020. So this is around the pandemic times. Ring magazine did an issue, and it's probably my favorite magazine. They did a yearbook, basically predicting the most likely fighters to succeed in this decade. So if you look at the guys on the cover, you got Gervonta Davis, you got Virgil Ortiz, you got Daniel Dubois, you got Teofimo Lopez, right? You got Devin Haney, and then you got some weird ones on here. You got Jerron Ennis, you got Ryan Garcia, right? But then you go to the bottom, you got like Zhu Can. Like, where the hell is Zhu Can now? He ain't nowhere to be found. You got Chris Colbert, and then you got Shakur Stevenson, right? And I remember when this got published, when this magazine got published, Dave Benavidez was very pissed off that he was left off of here, because at this point in time, Benavidez was champion. He had already accomplished being the youngest super middleweight champion in history. He had already did like very praiseworthy things in the sport of boxing. But the biggest boxing publication there is, they weren't anointing him. They weren't saying that he was the next this and that. They put Zhu Can on the cover. Zhu Can, right? So he's actually been earning his hype. In an era where guys don't earn their hype, he's actually been doing his part to the best of his ability to earn his hype. And if you're hating on Dave Benavidez, odds are is you're just a boxing hipster that hates Dave Benavidez, because he represents things that you hate in the sport, not because of how he behaves, but because he's with PBC and Al Heyman, and you're mad because Al Heyman and PBC fucked up the whole boxing market years ago with the Waddell and Reed hedge fund money, overpaying Keith Thurman, overpaying Danny Garcia, overpaying a lot of fighters, and it didn't really become what it should have became, PBC, right? So you don't like that, right? But again, nothing is new under the sun, like the good book says. Nothing is new under the sun. The Zone, Leonard Blavatnik, Eddie Hearn. Did Leonard Blavatnik not hand Eddie Hearn a $1 billion war chest when the Zone started up? Did Eddie Hearn not give Jesse Vargas? Well, no, he gave Mikey Garcia $7 million to fight Jesse Vargas. Did he not overpay Demetrius Andrade all those years in the beginning? So every new promoter has come into boxing thinking that they can splash the cash and take over the sport. So what PBC did is nothing new under the sun. The problem is that a lot of the boxing hipsters, the ones that just fanboy out over all the Asian fighters, over all the Eastern European fighters, they can't bring themselves to terms that they're doing the same shit that LDBC does. It's the same. It's a different side of the same extreme. Existential crisis. I felt that, yeah, it was definitely an existential crisis, and I'm not even sure it's over yet. I mean, I can't really get too deep into it, but you know, it's life. It's life. We're all human beings. Stay strong, brother. You got this, and we support you. And I appreciate everybody's love and everybody's support. That's why I came on live, because one thing about it is I really people think I'm bullshitting when I say this. I mean this really from the bottomest, most sincere part of my heart. I don't take for granted anybody that watches this channel. If you're one of these people that comes here and then you regularly watch the lives and you support or hit the subscribe button, or if you're here enough time for me to recognize your name, I really do appreciate my audience, because there's a million boxing channels out there. Y'all could be watching any channel, but y'all come and watch it. True Squad. A lot of people come up to me and say, "Hey, you're my favorite channel," and I've had people tell me, like, you know, I'm learning English watching your channel. I had one guy tell me, you know, I have depression and watching your videos helps me with my depression. So it's become something way much bigger than just boxing and my little ambitions. You know, it carries meaning to people. So that's why I don't take it for granted. So that's why I'm here. Thank you guys. Yeah, MTK. MTK is MTK was splashing the cash for a lot of guys. And in fact, I know fighters on a personal level who I've had personal conversations with about Daniel Kinahan. I know things about Daniel Kinahan, and you know, I'm not gonna put it out there, but like plenty. Everybody's done the same shit in boxing. There's always some rich guy out there that thinks that he can take over the sport of boxing with money, and that's not how it goes. Pedro says, "Heads up, I'm agnostic. If you need religion, lean on that. Life is rough, but worth it for the good moments." Well, look, I'm not gonna downplay anybody's worldviews. Everybody's entitled to believe what they want. But I'm not religious. I have a relationship with God. You know, I've been through real life shit, and the only thing that's ever kept me afloat is the man upstairs, is Jesus. You know, without him, there is no true school. So, God bless you, and God bless everybody in the chat. But we're gonna keep our eyes on the Lord and keep pressing forward. I agree, BT. I would just say Clarissa is the last true American superstar that got out there on their own. Benavidez still needed help from PBC, even the ring in Saudi. Benavidez didn't need the help. He had one fight. All right. He had one fight against Anthony Yarde. Benavidez was already a star before that happened. You know, boxing's in a state where, you know, Saudi's paying good money for these guys to go out there, and sometimes it does make sense to go out there, but he's been primarily built in America. Shout out to Joel. Good to see you, Joel. Listen, man, I know you happy. I know you happy, because if the Knicks win tonight, man, the city of New York might burn to the ground. We might really live in a world where the New York Knicks is the NBA champions, which to me is absolutely insane. So shout out to everybody in New York City. The New York Knicks are definitely doing their thing, and I know it's a great time for the city of New York. Why didn't Turkey just buy the zone? He bought a portion of the zone, but that's a great question. He might as well have bought the zone. I mean, he's basically got damn near all these promoters in his back pocket. I don't know why he didn't buy the zone. That's up to him. It's not like the Saudi Public Investment Fund couldn't handle buying all of the zone. But I mean, I would like boxing to get to a place where everything is not on the zone, you know? The city is gonna be on fire tonight. I'm praying they win. I mean, I don't got a dog in the race. I'm a Charlotte Hornets fan, but I mean, if they win, they definitely earned it because I mean, when was the last time, apart from Steph Curry, who I think is an outlier, when was the last time a sub 6'3" point guard led a team to a championship? Doesn't really happen. Nunca says, yes, my yoke is light refers to oxen's harness. Jesus makes your cross light because he takes all the weight from you worth giving your problems to him. They'll instantly become. That's what I'm saying. And like I told you guys, like beyond just YouTube, there's a lot of things that I feel, there's a lot of things that have been put in my hands in the boxing world that are very big responsibilities. And I want to make sure I do not just a good job, but an exceptional job at those things. And sometimes it just gets overwhelming. So that's why I haven't been live. Just overwhelmed like an MF, but we push on. Knicks fans and Brazil fans. Oh my God, yeah, Brazil's playing Morocco tonight. I'm gonna watch that game. So yeah, Brazil wins and the Knicks win. I swear on my life, there might not be a Jerron and his Xander Zayas fight in 2 weeks in New York. The whole city might be burned straight to the ground. Did Steve Nash win the title? No, he did not. Steve Nash never even went to the finals. He went to the West Finals a couple of years. He couldn't get past the Lakers. He couldn't get past the Spurs, but he was a great player, one of the best point guards of all time. Steve Nash never won a title, but it's gonna be a very fun day today, man. I'm excited. I'm excited. It's good to be here. We got the World Cup going on. We got the Knicks potentially winning the finals. What is this? I think the Stanley Cup is on. Is the Stanley Cup on today too? Or are the Las Vegas Golden Knights gonna get eliminated too? That would make my day, because I hate the Golden Knights. No, it's tomorrow. So hopefully the Knights lose tomorrow. And then we got Bam versus Vargas tonight. So it's a fun day. The Marlins won like 8. The Marlins have won 8 out of the last 9. If the Marlins win today, the Marlins go above 500, and I can now start taking them a little bit more serious as a legit playoff contender. So don't let the Marlins get in the playoffs. Don't let that happen. You feel like there's hype for Boots versus Zayas? I see some posters around the city, but online I'm not hearing much chatter. Well, and I've been trying to explain this to a lot of boxing fans, like boxing only fans. Boxing is my favorite sport, obviously, but I watch a lot of other sports. I watch baseball, I watch basketball, I watch a lot of hockey. At this point I'm a casual soccer fan, but at one point I used to watch a lot of soccer. The World Cup is going on. The World Cup, so that right there by itself, that puts everything on the back burner. That's a global event, right? Even me, like I legit don't care about boxing as much as I normally do because I'm very intrigued about the World Cup. Then you got the NBA Finals and the Knicks are in the finals, right? So a lot of people, that got a lot of attention. And then you got the Stanley Cup going on, and then you got baseball season going on. So there's boxing is fighting for a lot of attention right now. And I don't think Boots versus Zayas is gonna really heat up till fight week. And if I was the PR guy, so to speak, of Boots or Xander, man, I would have both these guys talking crazy to each other because they need as much attention as they're gonna get because it's getting overshadowed by a lot of events. The Chicago White Sox are winning it all, BT. Well, I have a soft spot for the White Sox. I like the White Sox. I'm a huge Murakami fan, but no. The Miami Marlins are coming back. The sleeping giant of baseball is waking back up. BT, question outside of boxing. So the UFC is having a White House card, my friend. So I shouldn't watch it for political reasons. My question to you is, what are your personal thoughts about politics and sports? My personal opinion about politics and sports is that there shouldn't be politics in sports. I know a lot of people feel like, and everybody's entitled to to their own opinion on how they want to live their life, especially if you're in the greatest country in the world, or one of the greatest countries in the world, in my opinion, the United States of America. We all have our constitutional right to live, exercise our freedom of speech as we want to. I personally don't think we should have politics in sports, just because I feel like whether you're Republican, Democrat, whichever side of the spectrum you're on, you're going to always be alienating 50% of the population. And sports is a thing that's supposed to unite people, irrespective of politics, religion, race. People can always unite, whether it be like, for example, last night, the U.S. men's national team, or, sports teams like the New York Knicks, the Florida Panthers, or whatever your favorite sports team is. People from all backgrounds unite to support, the favorite team and or national team. Sports are supposed to unite people. If you want to watch the UFC White House card, that's your prerogative. I'm not watching it regardless, because I don't give a rat's ass about MMA. Like, you couldn't pay me to care about MMA, but that's up to you. If you don't want to watch it because your political views, that's on you. But personally, for me, I don't like politics. I can't stand politics in sports. I feel like we have enough politics on Capitol Hill with the elections every 4 years. If you count, like the elections that happen every 2 years, that there's enough things that get politicized in the world. Why politicize sports? Yeah, that's right, Hiron. Tell them. These Benavidez haters will say, "Oh, well, Dave Benavidez is cherry picking McCallion, but McCallion versus Jael Bataya on Super Boxing is a great fight." Like, shut up! You guys sound like dumbasses. You guys think Jael Bataya is a big money fight? Maybe it is now because of Zuffa, but I don't look at it as a big money fight. Personally, I don't. I want to see Benavidez fight Bivol or Beterbiev. Give me one of those two, because I'm not trying to see Bivol and Beterbiev do the third installment of the AIBA World Championships. I mean, I know people like to say, like, "Oh my God, that fight was a great tactical chess match." I thought both fights was trash, honestly. The first fight was decent, but the fight just didn't do it for me, my opinion. But didn't really have those moments I was looking for in the fight. But give me Beterbiev versus Benavidez, Bivol versus Benavidez, and I'll be happy. You won't get a complaint out of me. What do I feel about Tommy Fury versus Eddie Hall? I have no opinion on Tommy Fury versus Eddie Hall. I don't even know what Eddie Hall is, and all I know about Tommy Fury is that he's a very, very low level fighter. BT, you say every promoter. Would you say every promoter or rich person wants to take over boxing? But do sanctioning bodies take over boxing? They don't take over boxing, but they definitely try to. They try to definitely dictate in boxing. See, sanctioning bodies can't outright take over boxing, because they can't. They can't make all the fights happen that they want to, because ultimately, the real breadwinners in boxing are the networks. So the networks are really the ones that control boxing. But see, now that there's not really networks now. Now the only network is DAZN, damn near, and I guess you could say Amazon Prime. But what sanctioning bodies do now? Look, I'm gonna tell you guys this. I'm gonna list you guys. I'm gonna list you guys the most corrupt sanctioning bodies in chronological order, and I'm gonna tell you how they all operate. Okay, so in chronological order, the most corrupt out of them all is hands down the WBA, for sure, not even close. Well, no, I wouldn't say. In a close second is the WBC. The third is the WBO, and four is the IBF. Right now, the WBC and the WBA, those two sanctioning bodies in particular, they will bend their rules depending on how much they like you or don't like you. So, like, for example, the WBA, they love Rolly. And the thing is, Rolly knows this, which is why Rolly will go around saying, "I can do whatever I want." Rolly Romero, you really think Rolly Romero, cares about mandatories? The guy is getting a pass for talking smoke, but now you have pound for pound guys and you sound like Canelo. Benavidez? How? How did he sound like Canelo? I remember when I covered. Look, I covered Benavidez versus Zotto, and I remember he never shot the fight down. And let's be real. I mean, I like Jao Pataya. You think he's pound for pound? Like really? Like who has? Okay, he beat Breedis twice. I'll give him that one. That's a very good. Those are two very strong wins. Who else has he beat? What has Jao Pataya done for us to definitively say he is the top 10 bona fide, for sure, pound for pound fighter? What do you guys think? Who has he beat? Because I mean, people asked me earlier in the live about Yabuki and Shock Foster. Like, could you honestly say, hand on heart, that Jao Pataya, in terms of who he's beaten, and I would even say accomplishments. Maybe you might say accomplishments because he has the ring. But who could you say? Like, what has he done to really prove that he is definitively a top 10 pound for pound guy? Now, if you want to say Jao Pataya is on that list of top 15 to 20, he's right there. He's on his way. If you want to say he's on his way, I'm mad at you about that. I think he's done some good things to say he's on his way. But to me, he's no different than Oscar Collazo or Shock Foster. Brandon Glenn, yeah, and I like Brandon Glenn. He's a nice guy. You know, he's a friend of the program. But Brandon Glenn shouldn't be getting you on no pound for pound list. Mother Prince says, BT, what do you think the plans are for Crawford Productions in Japan? Bud promotional partnership in Japan. I saw Ryan got on the board and during his recent trip. You know, I had that in my notes. I want to do a video about that. I don't know what's gonna come of that. You know what's crazy, guys? All these fighters, you know, Terrence Crawford, Ryan Garcia, all these American fighters, they don't seem that BT went to Japan, because I was going to Japan before these guys years ago, and now all of a sudden they want to start businesses in Japan, and they want to steal my swag and be like True School. So we see who sets the trends in boxing, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not really sure what it's gonna entail. You know, is Crawford gonna promote fights in Japan? Like, how is that even gonna work? You know, Ryan Garcia, he had an exhibition scheduled in late 2024 against Rukia Ampo on a Rising card. That fell out. So I mean, I don't know. I feel like Crawford just felt he went to Japan a couple of times. He fell in love with it. He wants a reason to keep going back, and he just went ahead and it's random. I don't know. I haven't really fully fleshed out my opinion about it. I don't have a crazy opinion about it yet, but I think it's cool. If it's gonna get me to go to Japan a bit more, then I'm not against it. You know, I'm looking for all the excuses in the world to go to Japan. They said stop gatekeeping, BT. I mean, I'm not gatekeeping. Am I telling a lie? I mean, can you guys give me evidence? Is there any evidence of Terrence Crawford and or Ryan Garcia going to Japan before April of 2023? Because if y'all can produce me some evidence of them going to Japan before April of 2023, then I will happily shut up. I don't remember seeing anything about either one of them. So all I'm saying is they all seen True School in Japan. You know, maybe Terrence Crawford, seen how much Japanese coverage these guys were getting on True School Sports, and he wanted to be part of it. Maybe he's just trying to get involved in the True School Sports Japanese coverage, but I don't know, man. We'll see. That's what I'm saying. Talk to him, Hiro. He says Opataya has to worry about Chris Smith BT because that fight is only big because it's CBS. Yeah, that's right. Y'all talking about Jai fighting Benavidez. Y'all talking about Jai fighting Benavidez. Listen, man. Let's keep it in-house. He need to go fight the real CBS, Chris Smith, the fighting pride of Bournemouth, UK. He don't want to fight him. He don't want to fight CBS. Now, I think Jai probably beats Smith, but I like Chris Smith. I'm a Chris Smith fan. Huge fan, actually. Because that's the guy right there. You look at his resume, quiet as kept. He got one of the best resumes in the division. He beat a lot of guys. BT, what are your thoughts on Ryan's streams during his trip? You want my honest thoughts? Hold on, let me. My honest thoughts? Hold on. My honest thoughts on Ryan Garcia's trip to Japan. Now, I'm not going to see it act like I've seen a bunch of or watched his streams. I've only seen clips. But I don't like one thing that, like, one of the quickest way that pissed me off is when I see Americans, and I've literally gotten into shouting matches, damn near fist fights on the train, crashing out on Americans that go to Japan and that don't respect their culture. Now, there's some things about Japanese culture that, like, sometimes I'm like, man, that's anal. That's too like, I don't like certain things about Japanese culture, right? But at the end of the day, it's their culture, it's their country. I am a guest in their country, right? And I love Japan. That's why the flag's on my damn wall. I love Japan, and I want to keep going back to Japan. And so when I'm in Japan, I understand that I'm not just representing me. I'm representing any and every American that goes to Japan, right? So I want to set a good example for Americans that do go to Japan and leave the Japanese people that I come into contact that Americans are great people to be around, right? So when I see Americans go to Japan and they don't respect the culture, like Ryan Garcia's going into 7-Eleven and he's just filming people and causing a ruckus, like, nah, man, that shit pissed me off. And that's why the Japanese prime minister, that lady, that's why she's deporting people like crazy, because people are going to Japan, they're taking the Japanese people's kindness for weakness, and they're not respecting the culture, and I got a problem with that. So, I think Ryan's a cornball for that, and honestly, just off of him going to 7-Eleven and causing a ruckus in Japan and not respecting the culture, I hope he gets knocked the hell out in his next fight. Just for that. Because, like, I'm telling you, it's not many things in this world that'll piss me off more than seeing Americans go to Japan. Because for those of you who have never been to Japan, let me explain a couple of things that are way different culturally about Japan to America. So one thing about Japan is, if you're on the train, if you're taking public transit, you're not supposed to be on your phone. You're not supposed to be being overly loud. That's one of the things in Japanese culture. That's literally a rule. You cannot go on the train and get on your phone and start talking loud and shit, or just talking at all. You got to be respectful and mindful of people's space, and just don't be loud. Don't cause a disturbance. Don't go to 7-Eleven and be streaming and being obnoxious. That's against the culture. That's against the rules, damn near, right? Those are like two of the main things that I've seen that a lot of American tourists that go to Japan have a problem with, and I see it with these streamers that go there, especially when they go to, like, Shibuya and Tokyo and things like that, and it pisses me off because it's like, I could understand. I made that mistake when the first time I went there in 2023. I didn't know any better. I called somebody, I got corrected, right, and then I noticed that nobody else was doing that, so I was like, okay, I'm not in America. If I get arrested here, I don't know nobody to come bail me out, and I ain't rich, right? So I'm respectful and I'm very mindful of the country, right? Because I love the country, I love their way of life, I love the people in it, and I want to make sure I can come back. In fact, I'm trying to buy some property out there. Quiet as kept. I'm trying to buy some property in Japan, but that's another story for another time. Just respect the damn country. If you go to Mexico, if you go to Japan, if you go to England or Brazil or wherever country you're at, learn the damn culture, learn the customs, and try to be as respectful and as mindful of that as humanly possible. Don't go over there on some bullshit. So I'll leave it at that. Those are my thoughts. Shout out shout out to the number one. And listen, I don't care how much you think you like Jerron Ennis. I don't care how much you think you support Jerron Ennis. You're not a bigger Jerron Ennis fan than my guy pound for pound. Go follow my man pound for pound on Twitter. The number one undisputed Jerron Ennis supporter there is in the entire world, outside of probably his family, his mom, and or his girlfriends. Um, he asked me. He says, "What are you wearing to Xander's funeral?" Now look, man. I think it's a great fight. I seen Boots is training hard. I seen he's training hard. I saw he had Demetrius Andrade in camp, so that's definitely a signifier that he's taking it very serious. I saw that. He's sparring. What is it with all these different people? He said he's feeling sharp. So I think we're gonna get the best draw and as possible, but I think we're also gonna get the best in his eye as possible. So I think it's gonna be a good fight, and you know, may the best man win. I don't have a prediction. I'm just gonna enjoy the fight. We're gonna see how it goes. What I can say about Boots is that I think it's very imperative that he hurts Xander Zayas early in this fight. That's what I can say. That's what I will say. If he doesn't hurt Xander Zayas in the first 4.5 rounds of this fight, I think it's going to be a very, very tough night of work for him. But we'll see. I don't think Xander has never fought anywhere close to a puncher like Boots, but I also don't think Boots has fought anywhere close to a fighter that's as offensively versatile and as well schooled as Xander Zayas. So that's the intrigue of it all. He says 12 rounds of sparring in the bag with two different people, feeling great. I love those. Those are my favorite tweets, especially when the best Gerard Ennis tweets are the ones where he's not really in camp, but he's kind of just staying in shape. And he'll be like, 15 rounds in the bag with five different sparring partners using one hand, 5-minute rounds with 30-second rest, feeling sharp, locked in, feeling like money, hashtag Mr. Catch a Body. Those are the best tweets when he starts talking about he's using only one hand. Mexicans are the most hypocritical, followed by Americans. That is where most of that hate is from. Hate for who? He says, "Hey BT, you want to bet your purse?" That's Bruce's favorite line. You want to bet your purse? He said, "Let's bet something. Let's run it." What do I think about Brandon Lee, and who should he fight if he beats Kane Sandoval? How about Jack Catterall? Brandon Lee's a talented fighter. I've always thought, what's funny, right? Brandon Lee and Boots are like really good friends. Brandon Lee and Boots had the same manager. Brandon Lee and Boots have been moved damn near. If you really study their careers and how they are both moved along, they got very similar resumes. Now, obviously, in recent years, Boots unifying with Stanionis. Now, this fight, obviously, the resumes aren't the same. But I would say, like, up to Stanionis, their resumes are damn near identical because they're built by the same damn person. Talented fighter, vulnerable, athletic, good puncher. If he beats Kane Sandoval, the Catterall fight will be good. I think he will lose to Jack Catterall. I think he might even I think Brandon Lee might fuck around and get stopped by Jack Catterall if they fight. He's a good athlete. He's a good athlete. I think he's a slightly above average fighter. Catterall beats him. Off-topic question that burns me. Can you tell me one elite guy that Golovkin and Beterbiev beat hands down? Couple. Elite. Beterbiev beat up on Joe Smith Jr. was a top guy. Obviously, I don't think his skills were like the greatest, but he was a top champion. He beat him. Bivol. You put it hands down because you're gonna say Bivol really beat Beterbiev, and in Golovkin's case, you're probably gonna say Daniel Jacobs beat him. If you're trying to insinuate that Golovkin and Beterbiev were not the truth, you're tripping. But yeah, Alexander Gvozdyk was one guy. That was a fight that didn't need to happen. In fact, I'll put it to you like this: if Beterbiev and Alexander Gvozdyk were like these modern day American fighters, a lot of these modern day American fighters, they would have said, let's build it up for the future. Let's be 10 years down the line. We still be waiting for better Biev versus Gvozdyk, but I give those two credit because they ran that unification fight when it didn't make a lot of financial sense. They had it in Philly where it really wasn't going to sell that much, and better Biev. You seen what he did to Gvozdyk in his prime. Those same fans are like, you see, we're getting Garcia versus Ben. And yeah, BT, like, you don't understand, BT. Like, without Turkey and Zuffa and Salah in the ring, I mean, there's just so many fights we would have never gotten. We would have never gotten Carr versus Canelo. We would have never gotten freaking Jael Pataya versus Brandon Glenn. You know, at least we're getting the fights, BT. That's how people sound to me. BT, where the hell is Virgil? I know he's still in a lawsuit, but once Zayas boots got me, I don't hear people talk about Virgil. My boy nowhere to be found or talked about. Well, that's boxing. That's boxing for you. Out of sight, out of mind. That's why I always say like a fighter is only as good as his team. You know, Rick Marigan, I feel like put him in a really disadvantageous position with how his career has been dealt with and moved. And that's why he's at where he's at now. So you're probably not going to hear about Virgil much the next 4 to 8 months because he's going to be in a lawsuit. He'll be on the shelf. How long do I think the dispute will last? I think at least at minimum, at least 4 to 8 more months. True School, what do you think about Stephen Fulton moving to 130? I think he's got to move to 130 or 135 because he can't even make 130. He fought what's his name? He fought Foster, couldn't make the weight at 30, so he needs to go to 135. Rick Marigan has been an overrated manager. For Virgil, I think Rick Marigan's a good manager because he did a lot for Jose Ramirez. He's doing a magnificent job for Amari Jones right now. But for Virgil, he's put Virgil's career in the dirt. So you judge a manager on a case-by-case basis. I think he's done good for a lot of fighters. For Virgil, he was doing good, and then he's put his career in the dirt. Because this really should have been Virgil versus Boots, as many of us know. Could I see the WBA making Fulton versus Ray Ford or Fulton versus Floyd Schofield? No, not now because they're trying to make Tank versus Floyd Schofield. Real Malachi Ross boxing, shout out to him. Putting in that work to be, make his mark in the boxing game. He wants to know, did I watch him fight on Pro Box on Friday night? To be honest with you, no, I did not. I didn't watch the card. I've kind of been away from boxing the last almost 2 weeks because I just been going through some stuff away from boxing. But yeah, I'll check it out. Let me see what you do on Friday night. Did you? He said, check me out. Well, that's okay. What did you do on Friday night? Let me see. Oh, you won. Okay, you won. First round knockout. Derek Whitley. I'll check it out. Ain't much to watch, but it's around, so I'll give it a watch. I like watching upcoming guys. You only got like 5 fights, so you definitely qualify as such. Hey, and make sure to everybody watching the live, make sure y'all start supporting these prospects, man. I'm gonna tell you guys this about boxing prospects because I know a lot of shit. You know what? Let me fuck around and watch Malachi Ross now. Do they got that fight? Malachi Ross, Derek. I ain't doing shit right now. I'm not doing anything. I'm sitting here passing some time before I watch the Marlins play and then watch the World Cup and then watch Bam and then watch the Knicks. You see, I'll watch a little highlight. Malachi Ross versus Derek Whitley Jr. Malachi Ross. In the orthodox stance. Okay, good little right hand in the body. You got a good frame on you, Malachi. Good frame on you for your weight class. Oh my God. Yeah, he knocked him out with probably one of my favorite setups in boxing. He threw, it was like a throwaway straight right hand. He dropped him, and then he came around the side with a left hook and put him on his ass. And then after that, it was target practice. He got him on the ropes and he just beat the dog shit out of him. So there you go. So Malachi Ross, 5-0, 4 knockouts, middleweight prospect. You know what's crazy too, guys? That's how I know I'm behind the 8 ball, because I have a whole list of like contenders and prospects I want to talk about. I might gotta add his name to the list because he's actually a prospect. He's 5-0. But what I was gonna say, guys, is if you know any prospects and you're fans of them, please support them. Like if you guys watch Pro Box or PBC or any boxing card, or it could even be a local show in your hometown. If you see any prospects and if they catch your eye and you like them, and let's say, you follow them on Instagram, if they have merch, if they have tickets on sale, make sure you support them, because it's such a hard stage for these. I know so many prospects in real life that have jobs or that have their families making a lot of sacrifices so they can focus on their training. And it's rough out here. I understand, like, nobody's entitled to your support, but I'm saying if there's someone you genuinely like, support them, man. These prospects need your support. And one thing that really bugs me about boxing is there's a lot of really good talent. There's a lot of really top upper echelon talented fighters out there, and people don't really support these guys, so they get like 15-0, 20-0, and it kind of feels fake to me sometimes. And I understand boxing terrible at marketing. A lot of times, boxing fans don't know fighters until they get to 15 and 20-0, because I get that part. But if you see a prospect that you like, they catch your eye, support them, man, because these prospects need all the support they can get. And prospects are the grassroots. They are the lifeline. They are the bloodline of the sport of boxing. So don't wait till they become champions and then act like, oh, I was always supporting these fighters. No, support them. Support them the minute you learn about them. Where does Alan Abel Chavez at lightweight rank in your opinion? I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of Alan Chavez. Alan Chavez, he was the guy a lot of you guys were asking me about before he fought. Who did he fight? He fought that guy he knocked out with the one punch. I can't remember his name right now. But yeah, Alan Chavez is such a good fighter. I remember when he fought on the Zone, he knocked the guy out that he fought, and he got me so inspired. I was excited. Miguel Madueno. Thank you. He knocked out Miguel Madueno, the same Madueno that took Keyshawn Davis the distance. He knocked his ass out, and I remember because he's a southpaw, and I was watching how he was just delivering those shots out of the southpaw stance, and I'm a southpaw too, and I'm like, damn. He got me fired up to go to the gym. The way he was throwing his punches and punching through the target, I'm like, that's how a southpaw power puncher is supposed to operate. So good fighter. I'm praying to God we get him versus Abdullah Mason or like just another big Floyd Schofield. Just anybody who's really punching like that. Yeah, there's a lot of prospects. That's why even me, like my life is covering boxing, and sometimes it takes me a while to get to certain guys because I'm only one man. Like I don't got no fancy production team, and I think I do a pretty good job covering the sport of boxing, being basically a damn near one-man team. But that's why I'm really big. I tell all the fighters in Angelo's camp and Angelo himself, y'all got to market yourself. Y'all got to be out there. Y'all got to be on Front Street any chance you get when you're not fighting. Market yourself as much as possible because there's a lot of talented fighters, but like talent alone is not going to get people to pay attention. They got to have a connection to you. Abdullayev, he's the guy from Golden Boy, right? I think I did a YouTube short about him a while ago, like 3 or 4 months ago. And Mother Prince says he wants to see Alan Chavez versus Sam Noakes. That was the fight I was thinking about in my head. That right there, that's one of them fights. That's one of them, like, them real fights. They gonna punch holes in each other if they fight each other. I would love that fight. Sam Noakes is a dog. We saw Sam Noakes push Abdullah Mason. Some people even thought he might have even did enough to beat Abdullah Mason, but very good fighter, legitimate fighter, legit guy that challenged for the world title. Alan Chavez is a guy that could potentially be Argentina's next world champion. So I like that fight. Albert Bell versus Andy Cruz. Good fight. Give me one's tough. Albert Bell. Give me Albert Bell. Split decision. John Robrio. Good fighter. Strong. Definitely a contender in the 140-pound division. I like John Robrio. He's another guy I got to make a video about. Like, there's just so many guys I can name you that I have. I literally have notes like this big, this damn long of all kinds of fighters that you guys have heard of and haven't heard of. Guys I barely heard of, but how does Pacheco stack up at 168? I wish he would have fought Shiraz. A lot of people have given up on Diego Pacheco. I think a lot of it stems from the fact that they think because he's long and he's rangy and he's a Mexican fighter that he should be this knockout artist. I've never viewed Diego Pacheco as a knockout artist. I think Pacheco's a boxer. He can be a boxer puncher, but I look at him as more of an outright just boxer. At that top level, he's not going to be knocking guys out. He's going to be outboxing them. And I think when he's at his best, he's just boxing and the knockouts come. I think he'll beat Hamza Shiraz. Like everybody's saying Hamza Shiraz is this killer, but y'all have short memories. He really got beat by Adames. He beat a Berlanga that a lot of y'all thought isn't that good to begin with, and then he fought probably one of the worst world title challengers in years. So for me, even though Hamza Shiraz is a good fighter and he's strong, the jury's still out. There's fighters that become champion, and there's fighters that get made champion. And he got made champion. He didn't become champion. He needs to be a legitimate top fighter to become champion in my eyes. I think Pacheco beat him on points, but Pacheco, I think he's lost a bit of confidence. I think he needs to get it back, find out his style. I think he needs to focus more on just boxing. Stop trying to get knockouts. Stop trying to just box, bro. Did you see Tito Mercado sign with DMG Boxing? Does it make sense to me? I've talked to a lot of people in the fight game about Mercado, and he's one of those guys that's gonna have a hard time progressing his career. From what I've heard, talking to very influential people in the fight game, because number one, he's a dangerous fight. He's high risk, low reward. And number two, he's got a very stubborn dad. And one thing about these boxing matchmakers, promoters, they don't like fathers. They hate fathers in boxing because fathers are going to look after the best interest of their son. And let's call a spade a spade. Promoters and managers love a fighter they can exploit. That's just the truth. So when you hear these promoters talking about we love, I'm not going to say no names, but fighters from countries that you don't got to pay them a whole lot. That's why they love them. They don't got to pay them a whole lot. Mercado is high risk, low reward. He's a big time puncher. He can really fight. He can box, and he's got a dad that a lot of the people in boxing are not that fond of. So he ain't getting no shot till he become the outright mandatory challenger, and they're gonna make his ass play the waiting game. You can bet your bottom dollar that one. We know why Hamza fought a can in his last fight because Pacheco didn't want to fight. You know damn well he's been protected. I mean, whatever. What? I mean, yeah, Pacheco didn't fight Hamza. Call it a duck if you want. All I know is whenever they fight, Hamza's gonna get his fucking ears boxed off. Hamza Shiraz is overrated. Yeah, Troy Isley's a good. He's a decent fighter. He's a decent fighter. I never thought Troy was this. I know he's an Olympian. Troy's cool. He's okay. He's a steady fighter. I don't think he's gonna be no upper echelon guy, but he's a solid, steady fighter. I thought personally Troy lost to Vladimir Hernandez. I mean, inevitably Mercado is gonna have to get his shot, but I mean, they're not gonna give it to him. And I mean, with all due respect to the fine folks at DMG Boxing, I don't know anybody on the staff there, and I'm not trying to put them down, but they don't have no standing in the fight game. They don't like, and so a lot of this stuff is politics, guys. See, the fight for me, you're talking about Adam Azim versus Emiliano. I'd rather see Emiliano versus Mercado or Adam Azim versus Mercado. Any one of them two fights are fights that I would prefer. Oh, that one, but that won't be a good fight as well. Pacheco didn't want to fight, and Billy Pacheco can only outbox guys from the middleweight moving up. He don't want to fight Osalisa Iglesias. No, but nobody wants to fight him. You can't hold that one again. Nobody wants to fight him. I think Pacheco is still. I think Pacheco is still trying to find himself in the sport. And everybody grows at their own pace. I respect Pacheco for at least being self-aware enough to not take those damn fights right now, or at least his team. But when the time comes and he fights Pacheco or he fights Shiraz, he won't beat Shiraz. I'm cool if you say he ducked him. That's fine. But when the time comes, he gonna beat him. Shakur is ducking Emiliano Vargas. Yeah! Tell him, Hyro. They don't want to fight Emiliano. You know what's funny is Emiliano Vargas, if you were to sign with Zuffa Boxing, there would be a certain contingent of boxing fans that will start saying that bullshit. That's the funniest thing about it. Collazo versus Tadron in September and Q's Jerusalem 3 in December. I don't know. I don't know if Oscar will ever fight Pedro Tadron. Do I think it's wise for Bam to give Shingo Inoue an additional look at him by fighting Takuma Inoue? No, I think it's dumb. I think it's dumb, honestly. I mean, I don't mind the fight as a fan because it's a good storyline. It helps make the Inoue fight bigger. Takuma's a legitimate fighter at 118 pounds, but Shingo Inoue is one of the best in the business. He's one of the top trainers out there. I got a lot of respect for Shingo. I'm glad he's finally starting to get a little bit of flowers now. But from a tactical standpoint, no, it's retarded. Vargas might end up becoming, yeah, but then I feel like Vargas probably get on some bullshit too. He won't fight Shakur, because they don't want to ruin his brand by him losing a fight. I don't like a lot of these guys. Like I'm not trying to put nobody down because I'm really at a place in my life where like I'm trying to just speak life into people and be positive. But in this fight game, I gotta be honest. Like it's just not a lot of fighters. It's really not a lot of fighters that actually really are about that smoke when it comes down to it. I was watching Yuka Fujiki pro debut the other day. I think they overrate him a little bit. I think Yuta Sakai is a better prospect. I agree. I don't think Yuka Fujiki is even the best Yuga in Japan. That's Yuga Osaki's better than him. I think the hype with him comes from the fact that he's just going to be fighting in heavier weight classes. So a lot of the Japanese boxing fans and media are beginning to dream of having somebody, at 135, at 140, at potentially 147 as he grows and matures, that could really make a noise on the world level for a sustainable amount of time. That's not normal in Japan. Japanese fighters tend to dominate, sub 126 divisions, 108, 112, 115, them weight classes. So I get why there's hype. But yeah, personally, if we're talking about the prospects from Ohashi Boxing Gym, I mean, I said it when I made my video about him years ago. Yuta Sakai is the future face of the Ohashi Boxing Gym in the post Inoue era. Hyro says, can Nestor Bravo beat Rolly? Nestor can punch BT. I don't really care. I feel like Rolly should be fighting Jack Catterall. I mean, yeah, he can punch. I don't know if it's going to carry up to 47. It'll be a fun fight. Rolly doesn't have the greatest punch resistance in the world, so it'll be fun. But Roy needs to fight is mandatory. In the WBA, I'm telling you right now, if the WBA do not get up off their bullshit by the time the next convention rolls around, and I'm gonna go to the convention because they're normally in Florida, they're not gonna like my ass. I'm gonna get kicked out. Cause a stir. Because everybody's like, one thing I hate is when people say, "Oh, well, Jack Catterall's not a big fight for Rolly." I'm like, yeah, but he's the mandatory. But yeah, but what about the money? I'm like, well, he's the mandatory. We have the mandatory system in place as a system of checks and balances so that fighters can get their shot. And so, what about Jack Catterall's hard work? What about his blood, sweat, and tears? What about his journey in the fight game? Does he not deserve to get his shot? I mean, he's the mandatory. He beat the guys that were designated in the final eliminator. He is the mandatory, and I'm very consistent about this. Like, I'm very, very consistent about this. Even I was going through my video archive the other day, and I forgot that I made a video about this. But I remember when Bernardo Lopez had like 2 voluntaries. He did 2 voluntaries, and then he was trying to wait out his mandatory, which at the time was Rhea Abbey. And I'm like, nah, fuck the dumb shit. I don't care about the Robase unification fight. You need to go fight your mandatory Rhea Abbey. And eventually he did, and I shut up about it. But that's one thing across every weight class. I don't care who the fighter is. I don't care if they're white, black, from Uzbekistan, Mexico. If a guy is mandatory long enough, he should be getting his shot. If a champion, I'm very consistent about that. So I'm the same way when it comes to Rolly and Jack Catterall. Now, doesn't mean I necessarily want to see the fight, but I'm very much about fairness, and I'm very much about the sport doing the right thing. And I'm very much about honoring the fighters that have put in the hard work and the sweat and the tears to become the mandatory. And I don't think their hard work, blood, sweat, and tears should go in vain just because the champion doesn't feel like he wants to fight. Well, then don't be a champion, because part of being a champion is fighting your mandatories. If you don't fight your mandatories, to me, you're not a real champion. But guys, look, I'm a little hungry. I want to just come on here and knock the cobwebs off and get it going again here on YouTube, because I've been going through a lot of shit away from just YouTube, man. I've been really going through it. So had to come here, say what's up. I'm gonna lock in for this long day of sports. I'm gonna watch the Marlins, then I'm gonna watch Brazil, Morocco, then I'm gonna watch the Knicks, then I'm gonna versus the Spurs, and then I'm gonna watch Bam versus Vargas. So I'm gonna enjoy my time with my family today and just chill out. But you guys, listen, take care. I'm not sure what the next live will be, so I'm not gonna make no promises, but the content will definitely be, getting revved up here very soon. So just keep supporting the channel. This is my first time going live as a 91,000 subscriber channel. So thank you guys for all the support, and it helped me get to 91,000. And yeah, y'all take care, be blessed, enjoy your Saturday, and I'm gonna do the same on this end, and I'll see you on the next live.